iRacing right now.
He's got traction, he's got really outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson! Anderson's up to
Oh my god! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
Six very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go! Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?
Welcome one, welcome all to SimSpeed TV. It's time once again for the middle of the endurance season in V8SCOPS, which means we've got a full support package here in the Logitech G V8SCOPS Support Series. We're racing at Imola. We've got 2 races each coming up in the Flat Sixes and the V8s tonight at the beautiful Autodromo Internazionale Enzo Edino Ferrari, one of the most legendary circuits in the world. Long-time Formula One circuit, and fantastic to see it here on the iRacing service as per usual. To bring it to you all live here on SimSpeed TV is myself, Reese Gardner, with Dan Yeaman alongside me in the comms box. Well, Dan, we're up against the Flat Sixes first, at the place where, unfortunately, the great Ayrton Senna lost his life. We can see his memorial here in the background on the B-roll, but it takes nothing away from how much of a brilliant racetrack this place is.
Indeed, that is correct. Thank you for the introduction then, Reese, and thank you to everyone joining us for this evening's coverage, the first night of action that we'll be bringing to you on broadcast for this weekend here at Imola, across supports and the V8SCOPS racing on Sunday. And well, here is the circuit map in all its glory, the current configuration. I mean, obviously having had a lot of changes over the years. I believe it's mid-2000s, 2006 or so. Unfortunately, did not check that before I went live, but has seen a lot of revisions over the years, and of course coming back to prominence in recent years thanks to the return of the oh goodness, what do they call the Grand Prix again? It's got some horrendous. Thank you, Emilia Romagna. Yes, indeed, reminded by you guys here. So yes, indeed, it's previously the San Marino Grand Prix. It's had plenty of names over the years, and this circuit certainly will put on a great spectacle of racing. Plenty of high speed, low speed, and in between stuff to get through here, which will make a real good test of the drivers in both of the cars, or car classes, I should say, that we've got racing for this evening, Reese.
Yeah, indeed. We've got, as I mentioned up the top of the broadcast, 2 races each in the Flat Sixes and the V8s, and the races are going to be 35 minutes or 13 laps in length. And as we check out the Flat Six Championship standings here, Cameron Dance has a reasonable buffer to Thomas Hinz. He's not quite out of the woods yet in terms of that championship lead, but it looks like Hinzy is in a bit of trouble here, to be overtaken potentially by Simon Mazzomo. Only 9 points behind there in third. It does seem that that there's still some racing going on for Liam Hall and Robbie Bradbury down there in 9th and 10th, Dan.
Yeah, there is indeed. While the points situation here means that, well, it's very much a game of who's been racing all season long here to be having a chance to fight for the top places here, such as the point scheme. And we are only, well, for the flat sixes here, they've completed in 5 events of the support category roster so far this year. So 10 races down and a handful more to go. And we'll see 2 more here for them tonight. And, well, it's a total of 19 races that will race the flat sixes calendar. And races 11 and 12 for them tonight. So, indeed, coming towards the back end of things tonight and start seeing who's going to make their mark on Championship Flat qualifying underway. And 2008 is the magic number I was looking for in terms of when Imola last received configuration changes of note. So indeed, long storied history, but certainly interceded by many a change over the course of time. As we check out the cars here in qualifying, Reese already got a minute and a half clicked away on the board. That's how long it has been since they've gotten out here tonight. And checking in here with the first car in the queue, Hayden Sell in the 897 for 95 Sim Sports. The first driver to start a flying lap here as he comes around Rivazza 2, brings it on to the front stretch to get himself underway here.
Yeah, quite a long circuit in terms of time here at Imola. It's just under 5Ks long, this place, 4.91 to be exact, and we'll ride on board on the way down to Tamburello. This is turn 1 he's going through right now. Flat out kink, nothing doing there in those cars, but heavy on the brakes, and you've got to be very careful over the curbs here on this laser scan. The curbs are quite rough there on the inside, but negotiates Tamburello nicely. A good exit onto the straight on the way up to the Villeneuve chicane. Very fast entry here. Got to try and widen out the entry to the right as much as possible and use all of that curb and concrete on the exit. The general rule, if you're racing at Imola, as you come through the slow Tosa hairpin here, is if it's dark green on the exit like that, it's AstroTurf and it's slippery. If it's light green, it's concrete, and there will be some grip out there if you so desire. But the drivers are going to have to be careful of slowdown penalties around here. Exit of Rivazza, I believe? No, it's Piratella. My apologies. Rivazza's the corners at the end of the lap, and then into Acqua Minerale he will come. And on the way up to the Variante Alta chicane, which has some very difficult curbs here. You want to try and use as much of them as possible and try to vault over these curbs, but it looks like Sell is being quite conservative with his curb usage there. On the exit of Variante Alta, he makes sure to stay on the red and white curbing and not grab himself a slowdown penalty. Here is Rivazza. Double apex left-hander, 2 left-handers really, and a short blast in between them. The second one's just a little bit faster. You got to control your wheel spin on the exit over the AstroTurf and on your way down to the start-finish line. Let's see what the time is then for Hayden Sell.
Well, he's got himself 1 purple sector to his name. Gets the second here at the end of the lap as the first one across the line. It's a 1:44.396, which is the best time at the moment. Dave Mulquin slots into P2 for the moment with a 1:44.8, and then times coming in the 1:45s for Simon Mazzomo and Ben Faulkner. Thomas Hinz across the line, not able to beat Sell. We'll have to settle for P2 at this stage. Brady Baldwin jumps to P5 with a 45.427. Daniel Cheney in the 444 up to P7 with his time in the 1:46s. Cameron Edwards. Oh, Cam Dance, pardon me, sorry. What am I doing? I'm looking for him now as one of our drivers to watch here. Championship leader coming into the racing action tonight. Can he pip this time here? What has Cam done so far? Quite a couple of good sectors, but only P3 for now. 1/4 of a second off to the milliseconds. So not too bad there, but we'll still be looking for a bit more time as he fires that car into the Tamburello complex. A bit too deep, though, through the first part. Will compromise the exit there through turns 3 and 4.
Yeah, well, unfortunately there for Cam. Still holding on to that championship lead by a slim margin, and he'll have to try and get some very good times on the board and make sure he's got some consistent results on the board as well. He was very quick at Phillip Island, so there's a lot of potential there. Oh dear, Hayden Sell just stopped and escaped to the pits, and he's going back out. He can't do that. The no escape rule is active in V8 SCOPS sessions. in qualifying and the race. You are not allowed to do what Hayden Sell just did. He is not going to be able to make another appearance on track later on in this session. That 1:44.396 will be the one and only lap to his name. So let's see then what Thomas Hinz can do to try and get past it. Damon Mulqueen improves to second place. Hinsey back down to third. But will he be able to run a low 1:44? No, he won't be able to. 1:44.8 then. Lost some time somewhere along that lap. Good improvement for Liam Hall as well. He goes up from 15th to 8th. But now we'll see what the drivers do here in the mid-phase of the session. They don't have long left. Cruz Mason coming out of the Rivatsa corners. 1:47.6 currently on the board for him, and that lap didn't count. Let's see what he can do here. 1:47.1, that's more like it. Time on the board, up into 12th.
Yeah, he's a way off the pecking order at this stage, but that's at least something to start for this point in the session. Courtney in behind him, comes across the line. 1:47.599 is an improvement, but well, it's actually his first valid time in the session, and that sets him down in P14. So let's see if he will be able to make some improvement later on in the lap. Liam Hall, we come back to him now as he's got 2 personal bests at this stage in the lap so far. Just need to keep it nice and tidy here because, well, coming back to what we were saying about, you saw Hayden Sells run through the Alta here on his first time through the track limits. It has been a little while since those limits got adjusted here at Imola. And the net result was to be a much more strict interpretation of the white line rule, pretty much. Not able to put more than half the car over the white line through the middle of the chicane complex, which is very much a departure from what drivers we're used to here at Imola. They are often able to get comfortable with very aggressively attacking those curbs, and, well, that means in qualifying you can't get away with that. While we've been watching Liam Hall here, Reese, Damon Mulqueen improved again, but still not able to take that P1 spot. But he's only 3/100ths of a second away. Hall comes across the line, and he does improve into the 1:45s. But I don't believe he moved up if any positions on that time. No. Car behind on a 1:46.5. So improvement in time, but not in place.
Well, improvements have come in for Daniel Cheney and Brady Baldwin. Cheney up to 7th and Baldwin up to 5th. Tyson Broad, meanwhile, in car 25, hasn't set a time in the session so far. He has left it very late to get a valid time on the board. So 1:48.7 was his time that was not counting. We will see what he can do out of the last corner.
And this will be it for him as well. I might add here, Reese, real quick, because heat format tonight for both the flat 6s and V8s means that you need to get your lap started before the checkered flag flies, and, well, with 1:34 on the board as he comes across the line to do an invalid lap time. So back of the field for the 25 machine here tonight, joining a handful of cars who haven't done laps, and, well, I can see there's actually a very suspect group of drivers, potentially suspect, I should say, all sitting at the back of the order tonight, looking to peck their way through, seeing how they go tonight. But that is Tyson's attempts in qualifying all complete. And to be honest, given his association with the group of drivers that I see have not gone out at all in this session, might have intentionally put a wheel wide during that lap. So going to be a game of what can he do there as we check in with Ben Faulkner, currently P6, trying to improve on a 1:45.05.
Oh,
He'll improve, but only just, and that will mean he stays P6 at best at the end of qualifying here, Reese.
there was only a few hundredths gained on that lap. What about Cruz Mason then? Also part of the Race on Oz crew. Let's see then through the last corner. Picking up a little bit of draft, but nope. There we go. He spins it round out of Rivatsa, unfortunately. John Courtney will be looking to improve on his time. 1:46.9 is what he's currently on. Second last of the drivers that have completed a lap. Mason's still spun there at the turn. He was waiting for Courtney to go through and finish his lap. So 46.9 to beat. It's going to be a 46.7. Not bad. He's going to trade spots with Mark Noble there and get up into 12th place and run the nick of time too. That means that we can go through the grid. Qualifying is now over. And Hayden Sell is going to start on pole position. Almost fell under the wrath of race control there for going back out in the qualifying session after escaping, but that time will remain valid, and he's going to start alongside Damon Mulqueen on the front row. Hins and Dance, your championship protagonists, are going to start from third and fourth, with Baldwin and Faulkner rounding out the top six. Daniel Cheney in triple fours going to start out as seventh alongside Simon Mazzomo, who's chasing down Thomas Hins for second in the standings. Liam Hall in ninth, Cruz Mason in 10th, and we've got Isaac Edwards and John Courtney rounding out the top 12 cars.
Do indeed. Then your remaining drivers, Mark Noble and Lindsay Hobbs, the last two to set a time in qualifying, and then we get ourselves into this group of guys here who haven't set a time, and for most of them that was very much intentional. Matthew Bowler, the first of the drivers in that order, in 15th, and then it's alongside him Hayden Veld, the 53 machine, to round out row 8. Sebastian Flock and Lachlan Capel starting out as 17th and 18th for this one, and then Tyson Broad at a 19th, and Taylor Oakes, the 20th and final car, on the 10th row to round out the field here in the flat sixes for this evening's racing. So, 20 cars, and the last, see, row 11 is our safety cars piloted this evening. Well, Henry King in the hands of one of them. I do believe it might be Ben Christensen in the second of those cars, but given the names used in session, can't actually verify that one for you due to the fact they've gone for custom league names here in this series. So we wait for the grid to time out here, but not long now, Reese, which means that we'll hear the flat sixes get going in about 5 seconds time.
Indeed we will. Wait for that flat six engine note to fly, and we've got eyes on the start lights as well to see who gets the best getaway. 3, 2, and 1. The revs are rising already. The lights will go up momentarily, and we are away. And that is an excellent start from Sell, but a horrible start from Thomas Hins. He falls back into 4th place and has to back up Brady Baldwin, Simon Mazzomo, and Benjamin Faulkner on the way down to turn 1.
Ooh, we've got multiple drivers, a couple, I think one at the back actually scoring out. Lindsay Hobbs in the 27 is fallen out of order here, and there's a lot, again, the guys here at the back of the field swarming through the pack here. This is kind of what I was a bit potentially concerned with what could happen here in terms of drivers out of position in terms of pace, trying to thread their way through the fielders. Oh, spin there, Mark Noble, a little bit of a tap from Sebastian Flock in the 84, which unintentional assistance there. Lost momentum on the exit of the Villeneuve chicane there, and well, thankfully only 2 minor mishaps to start this one off as they make their way up round Piratella for the first time here in the flat sixes. On board here with the number 7 of Brady Baldwin as he come down into Ackerman right. Oh, back of the field, massive spin and slide contact. One of the Albert Motorsport cars into Daniel Cheney, Liam Hall in the 40, and then more carnage. Further down, Matt Bowler in the 12. There as he saw down the bottom of Ackerman Road proper. One of the Race on Oz cars spins on the exit on the way up the hill. Yeah, the number 15, Isaac Edwards. We said there, Damon Mulqueen in the other car further up the road off as well. Good lord, it just unfolded all of a sudden in the space of about 3 corners, if not. We've had about half a dozen cars completely get looped and bit it. Don't know if those incidents were all related to each other. We're going to need to try and decipher. There's trouble on the way down to regards to one of the drop bear cars and Ben Faulkner as well.
Cruz Mason.
Cruz Mason, yes.
Yeah, Mason by the side of the track as it's side by side there through Rivazza. Okay, we've got a lot to think about here. So coming into Piratella, Daniel Cheney spun on his own. Liam Hall checked up a little bit in response to that, and then unfortunately Matthew Bowler got right into him and they spun. Here's what happened a little bit further back there to Lindsay Hobbs. That was a spin on his own, and Mulqueen also going off on his own at Aqua Minerale. So here's the number 12 of Bowler. Yeah, okay, he was sent off track there when he hit the 49 and couldn't get it recovered. So, man.
Yeah, already off by his own. So, Cam Dance behind here. This is the fight for 1, 2, 3 on the road here. And yeah, just completely unloading the rear there was Mulqueen, unfortunately. So, drama on the opening lap. And then, yeah, Bowler not ready for a car to be out of position and pace. And then, yeah, Tyson Broad here, other car in question with Cruz Mason on the exit of the very under Alta. This is quite a ways down the hill where it happened. So, very late. No, okay, we're going to have ourselves a bit of overlap, and Gap's not there. Gap's not really there. That's in the grass, and oh dear, yeah.
Okay. That's a bit of a slam dunk thing there. We're going to go to another replay because something else has happened further along the line. I did see that Matthew Bowler had some more issues of his own, and we are actually going to take a look at that. Bowler, already with a slightly damaged car, and he lost it out of the Villeneuve chicane, is now dealing with incredibly heavy damage. He's going to have to come back to the pits and get that thing repaired. Still out on track at the moment, but man, what an opening couple of laps that was. Super chaotic, and I think a lot of drivers just making mistakes from that. Either way, it's Hayden Sell and Cameron Dance leading this race here by about 1.7 seconds from Thomas Hinz. So it's a two-horse race up the front at the moment.
Team could be in I know Hinzi could probably catch up at some point, but we'll see. Matthew Bowler's more trouble down at the Rivartsas, asking for permission to tow way down in the gravel. Haven't had a safety car in quite some time here in the support series, at least the flat sixes at least, but potentially could be up for grabs too. And he's been told to hold. I suspect we're going to get a message here in a moment from race control, but we watch the racing continue on screen, as that's what we'll focus on here for the time being, as they here fight for P4. Sorry, Brady Baldwin and Simon Zomo as they head down into the Acro Minerale. I'm still waiting to hear confirmation from race controllers of what's going to come next. And there it is, safety car call just as we're about to get side by side between Baldwin and Mazomo. They'll have to put that one aside for later and wait a bit as one Cayman GT4 will be deployed to the track to pick up the field as they come down the front stretch here, Reece.
Indeed. The Porsche 718 Cayman emblazoned in the Logitech G livery, lovely bright blue out there on track, contrasting a bit with the majority of the cars out there. So the field has been reset here, and Matthew Bowler will get confirmation once the field goes by under safety car, I presume, to escape back to the pits. If you're new to V8SCOPS Racing, that is how things work with the manual safety cars. If you crash and you're not able to get the car going again, you have to request a tow from race control. And depending on where you are on the circuit, sometimes if you're close by a marshal's post or a break in the fence, they will stay green while giving you permission to tow back to the pits. But in this case, they've decided it's best to bring the safety car out and give Bowler permission to escape back when the field is slowed down. Just trying to make it a little bit more realistic, a bit more like how a real-life racing event is conducted, because of course there are some liberties given in sim racing, like the ability to press escape and be teleported back to your garage.
Yes, it is true there indeed, and you hear the field make their way around the toaster hairpin, and yeah, certainly just trying to blend the reality, well, what we like to see from simulating real-life racing with some of the things that happen when you get involved in a simulation, which, as it does indeed enable a few things there. So try and balance this out here. Just got a couple of things here as we actually see one of the cars at the back of the field. Chris Mason there having to actually, well, not Chris Mason, pardon me, Mark Noble having to give back spots thanks to the mistake with the call. What was the actual safety car call that was, as we check in with Tyson Broad here for a second. We expect.
It seems that Tyson Broad is making a lot of car adjustments. That's what we're being told. He's also only got one hand on the wheel, so a man after my own heart. And I think he's... Oh, hey Tyson, g'day. Obviously it seems that he's got a lot of work to do in that car. All right, he's put the headphones back on. He's back on focus mode, it seems.
I think it's more, listening into the Discord call with a couple of guys and watching into the stream by the sound of things there. So multitasking outside of the simulation, as it were, I think, as we check in with another of our drivers who's provided their webcam feed for this evening, the 551 of Simon Mazomo. See here, currently running in P5, and well, short safety car period there. I don't think we even got a single lap behind the control of the car because safety car is already heading back to the pit lane, and we're about to get this race restarted once again. We'll stay here with Mazomo in P5. We wait for the call from race control to be green. We'll go green here in a second. Now in the hands of Hayden Sell up in the race lead. See here, teammates with Mazomo. You can see here trying to time it, but there you go. Mazomo goes a bit soon. There's a massive check up further on back indeed as we go green to restart this race on lap 5 of 13. And yeah, oh boy, that's not gone well for Mazomo. Drops a whole bunch of time there trying to line that one up, but Ben Faulkner behind the 042, not able to challenge here. Top 4 all compressed down through Tamburello complex here on this restart, and immediately top 3 break away from Baldwin, relatively speaking, here in the opening corners of the lap. We'll see where the pace is at so far in this race as they then wind their way down through the Villeneuve chicane and up to Tosa here on lap 5 of 13. And one of the other drivers in the webcam tonight, Hayden Bell, recent simracing entry there ahead of teammate Damon Mulqueen, 8th and 9th for those two drivers currently on the road.
Yeah, some magnificent positions gained here for Veld and for Sebastian Flock up ahead. Veld started in 16th up to 8th. He's divided his positions in half. Sebastian Flock has gained 10 positions, starting 17th and up to 7th. Really starting to put the pressure now here on Benjamin Faulkner, who's still in the position he started in 6th. Those faster drivers who decided not to take part in qualifying really come out to the field here. And have a look at this fight coming through. Variante Alta. Oh, hello. That's Dance. No, that was Taylor Oakes. Sorry. My apologies. Misread a name there on the windscreen. Oakes under a lot of pressure here from Tyson Broad, who's almost making contact with his rear bumper. Broad's going to go for it. Oh, no. Okay. Well, race control's definitely going to be taking a look at that one, unfortunately. Tyson Broad laughing a bit at that, but I wouldn't be laughing if I were you, mate. That was probably a move that wasn't quite on.
Well, I wasn't quite watching that one because I'm currently looking at something else on screen. So, thankfully, I've got Joe Kennedy here to help me out and get a chance to look at exactly how that one unfolded. We've already seen Broad going for opportunistic move in the exit of Carante Alto, and a bit of netcode doesn't help things there, but doesn't quite ensure he's clear of Oakes there on the outside down the hill into Rabat's 1. We're here close. Oakes comes across a tiny bit too, but toward there and just
that was just the racing line I think that Oakes was taking with how short the braking zone is. Well, Oakes gets into the pits without any issues, and have a look at this back in the field. Now we've got quite a bit of racing going on here in the battle for 7th place. The Lachlan Cable getting involved here with Benjamin Faulkner. Outside line into Aqua Minerale. Doesn't always work, but he's managed to make it work. Faulkner, I think, just deciding to get on the brakes a tad early there and let these guys go. He's aware of the pace difference there. So Faulkner back now to 9th spot. Veld, Cable, Faulkner and Mulqueen all a part of it. And remember, Damon Mulqueen was the car that started in 2nd. He is already on a massive recovery. And I'll tell you what, he might have made that mistake on lap 1, but the safety car has really helped him.
Yep, it has helped him get back into it all a bit here, but quite a lot of drivers to get through. And there we go, action from race control. Contact with Taylor Oak has been penalised. Going down the pit lane to serve a drive for penalty for that one there. And indeed, actually opts to go for it straight away here. That's 25 Snow. That penalty cleared nice and promptly. And well, no surprises there as to the outcome of that one there. As we go on board with the man in P2, Cameron Dance, keeping Hayden Sell a little bit more honest in this second phase of the race. Race gap currently at about 0.4 of a second as they hop over the curbs at the Villeneuve chicane. But looks to be a bit of back and forth here as they make their way through this corner. There's neither one of them really making any definitive gains or losses at this point. So it's going to be the scales there. It seems well, looking nice on the way out of corners. Let's go back on the way in, as you would expect with the accordion effect here. Baldwin Racing.
Back to Simon Mazzono and Brady Baldwin. Mazzono's actually made his way past Baldwin now. And we're going to have a look at how that happened. I would suspect it's down at Tosa. No, actually, it was at Tamburello that Mazzono made his way past. A very nice move there up the inside. Mazzono with the Italian flag emblazoned on his car. This is effectively a second home race for him with on board with Baldwin. He tried to go defensive there, but Mazzono just too quick up the inside there. Mazzono, of course, with a bit of Italian heritage, but it's not going to help him much here. Trying to keep Baldwin behind him, and don't forget Sebastian Flock as well. He's going to try to get 2 for 1 here as they come across the line to begin their 9th lap here. What will Flock do here? Mazzono goes defensive. Can Flock make it 3 wide? He's dragging along Hayden Veld as well. There's nowhere for Sebastian Flock to get through. It's still between Mazzono and Baldwin for 4th place, and Brady's going to hold it around the outside of the first part of Tamburello, becomes the inside, and Mazzono compromised there, almost making contact with Hayden Veld. Sebastian Flock making his way through. Mazzono has to yield to Lachlan Capel as well, or will he? He's going to try and force the issue here, but Capel has the inside line coming into Villeneuve, and it's going to be inside defense potentially into Tosa. Mazzono's going to try and find his way back past. The door almost closes, but he keeps it on the inside there, and will keep Lachlan Capel honest. Oh my lord, this is so close, and these guys are costing each other a lot of time now. Baldwin, Flock, and Veld are getting away. This is amazing racing. Faulkner and Mulqueen have been brought into this as well.
Boy, it's all elbows out here. Mazzono, a little bit of a lock-up at Ravazza 1 and 2, and tries to stick it side by side down the bottom half of Akamirale. It's what, turn 9.
Careful!
And then contact with Mulqueen on the exit up the hill. Both cars are round as a result, and oh dear me. Yeah,
you can see the frustration on Mazzono's face, and I think he knows that he might have a penalty coming his way as well for an unsafe re-entry. I mean, it would make sense that he'd try and get back on track where he did, but all the same, there were cars on the racing line as he was coming back on, so probably would have done well to just take it a bit easier. So he made the mistake coming into Acquaminerale, and yeah, firing straight back out onto the racetrack. Mulqueen, no fault there.
Down the hill, it all starts here at turn 9. Tries to go on the outside, but Capel gives him absolutely no angle to turn into that fast flick. And then, yeah, Mazzono full speed re-entry. Mulqueen's already turning right to open up the exit, but yeah, unfortunately, that is a bit of a no-brainer case there in terms of who will be at fault. Back to live pitch as we go, and look here at the front of the field. It's on P1. It's still around that 4/10 marker, but it's certainly actually about a tenth closer than it was when we last checked in here. Although it just wins out a fraction there on the exit closer. Aaron Dance looking quite racy there through the Villeneuve chicane, and hoping, I think, to try and get an extra spot here, because unlike every time we've seen sprint racing so far this year in Flat 6s and the other categories, there is no invert to the grid. So we'll be keeping results here from race 1. We set the grid for race 2. Quick replay here of Liam Hall up the inside at Tosa on John Courtney. Just given a 65 there to make sure that one all nice and tidy. So they change places and head on as they were otherwise. So back to the front of the field we come, Reese, and again down to about 3/10 now between Bell and Gantz, and run here off Ravazza 1 and Ravazza 2. So crucial. You can see Gantz not using any of the apex curb, and it looks to be costing him a little bit through the initial phase of the acceleration. And then the slipstream, though, kicks back in the second half of the straightaway here. As we're going to cut to another replay. Thanks to something that's happened up the hill. Cruz Mason in the 43. That's not looking too healthy for the car, but that's really damage. Something down here at the Raleigh, I presume.
Yeah, so he goes in and unfortunately a little bit too deep, I think, gets spun up over the curb, and well, he tried to save it, but unfortunately the rear end was already swinging around. These Porsches with the engine all the way at the back of the car, once you get that thing into a slide, it's very hard to recover, especially if it's penduluming back and forth. Well, it's on for 4th. Hayden Veld trying to make his way past Brady Baldwin here. And, I mean, there's a lot's been going on in this battle here as Veld takes fourth at Tosa. You see that there's been some changes behind between Flock and Capel. Flock now behind, and it looks like Baldwin's going to try and come back here at Hayden Veld, outside into Piratella, but Veld keeps it to the inside, gets the fast line through the corner, manages to block off any advance there from the driver of the number 7, who Brady Baldwin, obviously very active in the dirt racing community here on iRacing, of course NZ Sphere, owner of Oceanic Dirt Sim Events, and starting from next Wednesday, we're going to be broadcasting their 360 Power Series here on SimSpeed TV. Baldwin's going to be in the race control chair for that one, but he gets some racing in himself when he can on the tarmac, and he's under a lot of pressure there from Capel. Okay, so there we go. There is a decision from race control there, and one that we expected. Simon Mazzomo has already served his pit lane penalty for that unsafe re-entry. He comes back out in 17th place. So, back to the battle for fourth then. Veld has managed to get away from Baldwin some, and Capel is in Baldwin's slipstream here, down the start-finish straight, which isn't really much of a straight. Oh dear, that's a bit of an issue there. I think the server had a couple of issues, and oh dear! Oh, Lachlan Capel was caught out by that. I think everybody felt that. There was a bit of a shudder there in the fibre optic cables under the ocean, it seems.
Well, the thing is, right, we're on the Sydney server farm here for iRacing, as it is, so none of us should be having any of the undersea cable drama. Indeed, yeah, I've just noticed, yeah. I thought for a second I was watching Brady Baldwin's perspective, maybe Brady had a moment there, but then I checked my my connection settings, and I actually had a moment there too on my end. So indeed, that was a full server.
Oh, Baldwin!
As meanwhile, unfortunately, Brady Baldwin comes loose at Piratella. Unforced error there for the driver of the number 7. Loses what's the Flock, Capel and Faulkner, but he will on the track in P8 with that recovery. Meanwhile, Jason Bald here trying to make up some petty change at this point here, but now fighting with Cruz Mason for 14th. Come up the hill, Tyson seeming to really struggle with perceptual awareness of where the track limits are here when he's pushing the limits. It seems is not able to get around the outside at Piratella, and letting it very few make that stick. He's going to try again, looking at wide entry in Akinrale is not a bad concept, but it's not a vulnerable spot. But Cruz Mason compromised exit. Surely that'll be a change for the pass at Varian's Alza, but yeah, indeed, for the lead at Tamburello. Flies in too deep and puts Dance in the dirt. They come back on track as they are, but race control might look at that one there. And indeed.
Yep, that was Cam reporting it right there, getting on his radio.
Dance immediately requesting a review of that one there, because Cell was up and over the anti-cut curbs, trying to hold that one off, and well, Dance did look a little bit. We had a bit of overlap there, and rights to the outside lines. We're going to check it out again on the replay. So looking at this here, Dance has not been catching this quickly in a straight line all race so far.
Well, Cell goes defensive to the inside. That's all fine and dandy, but oh yeah, they make a little bit of contact on the way into the braking zone, and then Cell rear end kicks out and very deep into the corner. That's heavy over the speed bumps on the curbs, and I think Dance justified in calling race control's attention to that one, but I think all the same it was very tight between them on the way into turn 2. Well, they're going to try and work themselves out on track for the time being. Dance definitely looking like the faster car here. Cell holds the fastest lap at the moment. 1 minute 44.2, and oh dear, that looks like Tyson Broad, who's gone for a bit of a wobble at the Tosa hairpin. Lost it by himself at the apex. Well, we'll see then. Take 2, coming into turn 2, Dance in the slipstream of Hayden Cell, and see where Cell decides to put his car. Dance with an early slipstream here. They're going to be side by side on the way into the braking zone, and Cell's going to try and fight this as much as he can. Dance is briefly ahead at the turning point. This time Cell gives him room, but oh no, now Dance is up the inside, and that is more contact made. So race control called on Hayden Sell. I wouldn't be surprised if Hayden Sell calls race control on that one. They're having a tough job tonight up in the admin booth, aren't they?
Yeah, there's a couple of decisions that have needed to be made. And indeed, there's the radio call from Sell just now as we head to the replay. Thanks to Virtual Racing. So let's have a look at this one here. Try and get a good angle on this one. Well, as you said, defending that inside line, forcing it a long way around from Dance. And then, yeah, well and truly alongside here. And in fact, Dance ahead under brakes initially and then into this part here. And from that angle there, it looks like Dance is basically up against the anti-cuts and there's not much more he could have done. Try here with this chopper camera angle, Reese. See if that tells us a bit more about the trajectory here at turn 3.
Yeah, well, I mean, Dance couldn't have been any more to the right than he was, and Sell, I think, could have afforded to have given him a bit more room, but all the same, he was ahead when they were in that particular corner, so it's going to be a tough decision to make in race control. I certainly don't envy their role at the moment. Our job is just to sit up here and call the race as it happens, but yeah, I don't really know. I feel like Dance could potentially get the blame for that one because he was behind, but it's the checkered flag regardless, and Cameron Dance is going to come home for victory here, at least on the road here at Imola. That race just flew by. I can't believe it's already been 35 minutes worth of racing. Thomas Hins finishes in second. We couldn't even call the last lap properly there just because there was so much going on.
And first back to 7th for the 897. And we've got a bit of work to do with race 2 being progressive grid. Last couple of drivers across the line. Isaac Edwards ahead of Damon Mulqueen after the contact with Mizomo. 642 quite a ways back there. Lindsay Hobbs has ended up in 13th place for that one. And just leaves 3 drivers out on track. Tyson Broad, Simon Mizomo and Cruz Mason, who should come across the line as they are. And, well, all 3 of them, it's been a bit of a horror race in many respects, and they'll need to be hoping to, well, in some cases, upping their game. In other respects, be looking to get a better result on the board for that one there. As we walk you through the results, as they were at the line, although certainly unofficial after that first race. Cameron Dance, 1.5 seconds clear of Thomas Hins. They're in second place. Hayden Veld rounds out the podium on the road at 5.5 seconds back ahead of Sebastian Flock in 4th. Locking Cable just behind in 5th, and then it was Ben Faulkner, a little bit quiet there in P6 as it happened to be. Hayden Sell knocked back to P7 with Brady Baldwin next across the line in 8th. John Courtney moved himself up from where are you, John? P12 up to P9 there. The 65, and Liam Hall dropped a spot to P10 at the line in the first race there, Reese.
Well, Isaac Edwards finishing where he started in 11th place, but it was all going on around him. Damon Mulqueen coming back home to 12th spot there. A very unfortunate lap 1 for him after starting second. Lindsay Hobbs gains 1 spot to finish lucky 13th, and it's 5 spots gained in the end for Tyson Broad despite his issues and penalty. Mizomo with his penalty. It was a top 10 start for him, but he has to settle for 15th. Cruz Mason comes home in 16th and is the last car to finish. Mark Noble 4 laps from the end, retiring. Taylor Oakes 9 laps from the end after Tyson Broad hitting him in the rear and putting him into the wall in Rivazza. Matthew Bowler, an absolutely torrid start for him, and very unfortunate there with Daniel Cheney 12 laps from the end, unfortunately making it only a lap into the race. So now we're already into the second race here. A very quick turnaround. They only have a minute's warm-up in between the races, and now we get to go again for another 13 laps of racing. Of course, the drivers made it 13 laps despite the safety car there. And let's see what they can do now from these spots. Again, with that very quick turnaround, Dan, no time really to sort out the issues between Cameron Dance and Hayden Sell.
Indeed, that will be something we'll be examining later, it seems. We'll sort that out another time soon. Well, the revs back up once again here, Reese. Race 2 of the flat sixes from Imola for their 6th event this season gets underway. We go green. Hinds stalls it almost off the line.
Oh.
Several cars bog further on back. It's going to be Cameron Dance, though, to the front, uncontested. Sebastian Flock ahead of Hinds in P2. Multiple side-by-side as we come down into Tamburello for the first time.
Yeah, wow. Looks to me like Lachlan Capel didn't take the start. His grid spot was empty, and there's a crash at the back. Oh, and Sebastian Flock heavy into the wall out of Tamburello as well. That's huge. Lindsay Hobbs and Matthew Bowler getting involved there, and Flock, of course, getting back onto the racetrack, but with heavy damage. Oh, no, it's continuing to go on there at the Villeneuve chicane. Faulkner and Baldwin coming together and dropping down the order. They were both well into the top 10, but that's going to set their race off to a very poor start. On board here with Damon Mulqueen as he tries to line up Isaac Edwards, who's had a fantastic lap 1. He's going to have to make way for Mazzomo, though, around the outside of Piratella, and round goes Edwards. Oh, man. Cold tyres in these Porsches. I think the drivers really could stand to be a bit more careful here, Dan.
Yeah, I mean, they are a difficult car to handle. Sometimes in the best of times as Mulqueen makes a meal.
Oh my God.
Word. Liam Hall in the 49 machine comes unstuck on the exit of the Acro Minerale complex. Just as we're talking about, Mulqueen absolutely munching the apex anti-cut. And my word there.
Slow down for Dance.
Slow down for your pole sitter and early leader there. Same for Brady Baldwin. Mechanical black flag for Sebastian Flock in the 84 as well. Thomas Hinds, after a somewhat quiet race 1, gets himself to the lead of the race at the end of that first lap there.
Yeah, so Dance, I think, getting a bit too far beyond the curbs coming out of Variante Alta. That's the reason why he got that slowdown. Flock is going to bring it into the pits promptly. Okay, we've got a lot to talk about here from the first race. Let's take a look at the start then. Flock with a magnificent start there, taking advantage of Hinds nearly stalling it. Flock got into second there on the entry to Tamburello, but it's the exit that we should be focusing on here. Climbs over the curves, and what happens to him here? Oh, he just gets caught up on the speed bump there. That jerked the car to the right, and he went heavy into the barriers. That's a huge incident for him.
I think looking at that one there, Reece, it almost seemed as though he was starting to lose control of the car, and the anti-cuts actually completely exacerbated his issues. Meanwhile, further on back in the pack, he was got nose to tail, and then one of the race on Oz cars, that would be Cruz Mason, looks like he spins down the exit of turn 2 and collects Matt Bowler, who had been given a bit of a rear end tap from Lindsay Hobbs as well. So all kinds of chaos here. We're staying with this, so we can see there in up further ahead. Just check out on board with Mason here. So into turn 2, yeah, gets loose and gets Bowler as a result as they come through turn 3. And then, it's just gone back to live pictures as
it was
one of the
Oaks.
Orbit car, Taylor Oaks in the 313. Gets around and finds the fences. Brady Baldwin's also had trouble further on down the hill.
Can we get a clean first couple of laps here at least once tonight, please?
Yeah, to be seen. As the front of the field is going somewhat okay, as Cameron Dance is applying the blowtorch to the rear of Thomas Hinton. Hayden Veld has promoted himself up into 3rd place out of all this. In fact, well, actually, pardon me, he's actually been in 3rd this entire time, just even more of a quiet observer. Around the outside, attempts Cameron Dance, and Tins is somewhat there, but he's not able to defend it, which gives Veld half a chance on Hinds for P2, but they all stay as they were, as Hinds half attack, half defense on the way down to the Villeneuve chicane. He will stay in P2 though, all the time being here at the start of lap 3. All this does is bring Hayden Sell there into the picture, who's up 3 spots in P4. And in behind them, we have bigger moves in the field, Mazzomo and Broad, 10 spots up and 8 spots gained respectively. Currently in 5th and 6th. Mechanical black flag for Taylor Oaks in the 313 as a result of some troubles, and a slowdown for Lindsay Hobbs further on back in the lap somewhere as well. In the 27 machine, that would be somewhere around Tamburello, I would suspect at this point, as already half a minute off of the leading group is 27, but eyes forward here at this front 3 still, Reece.
Indeed. Well, I'll give you a bit of information in terms of lap times here. Thomas Hinz is the only driver out of this top 4 to set a valid lap so far in the race without any incidents or off tracks or what have you. But Hayden Sell, 1 minute 44.246. Everyone else here, the entire top 3 here, at least half a second slower on the last lap. So Hayden Sell is looking pretty good here. If these guys keep battling, and could be looking at a podium if things start going his way. Dance is already streaking away from Hinz and sets the best lap of the race there. It was a valid time, 144.8. And looks to me like 145s there for Hinz and Veld, thanks to their little exchanges. Hayden Sell, 1 minute 44.843, but not counting as a valid lap just yet. And oh dear, looks like Sell has gotten a slowdown coming out of Tamburello, so he is more than dropped off the back of the top 3 here.
Goes in a bit too deep into the Villeneuve chicane as well, and now well cleared, but will cause me issues. Another driver with a slowdown penalty, the 49 of Liam Hall, through Tamburello as well. We'll clear that there, lose the spot to Matthew Bowler, who, despite being entangled on lap 1 at Tamburello as well, is still up 7 spots. Have a quick look at what Liam Hall did to earn a slowdown. The answer is going to be cutting the apex of turn 3 and almost tripping up Ben Faulkner as a result. Matthew Moore just tucks to the inside as they come up to complex. We're going to stay on the replay apparently here, as few troubles for Damon Mulqueen up next. Was running in...
We should go to live pictures sooner rather than later, I think.
Yeah, it's true. It is true.
Second is on track, but that's what happened there to Mulqueen. Just caught the grass on the entry to Piratella. But either way, Thomas Hinz and Hayden Veld, Hinzy a little bit crossed up coming through Variante Alta, which has brought Hayden Veld right into the fold here to try and grab second place. Got to say that it's been good for Thomas Hinz here to recover from his poor starts tonight and still be holding on to a position in the top 2, but it is under threat here from Hayden Veld. Dance keeps it clean up ahead in the lead, but it looks like these guys are pretty evenly matched through the first few corners.
And we're just seeing there Tyson Broad and Simon Mazzomo back and forth on the timing tower between those two. They've just dropped a huge amount of time, and in fact they're dropping a lot of time, and there you go, trouble at Tamburello. Tamburello? Yes, Tamburello, that is correct. So let's have a look at what's happened there. Mazzomo was historically leading, and indeed was still leading here at the start of lap 5 as they come down into the corner, and late move from Tyson Broad and a bit of a hip check, and
well, there you go. Broad was redressing the position.
He's already put himself in a bit of hot water tonight. He wants to get rid of that one before it can cause any problems as we check back in with live pictures on the top 3. It's still our closest group, and of course, given it's for the lead of the race, certainly where the action is currently concentrated as they make their way up through the Variante Alta chicane. Hayden Sell still there in P4 race, only gained a couple of tenths since that slowdown knocked him back a bit, so not making the inroads he probably would like at this stage. Dance being able to control the pace up front and drag second and third along with him at this point, it would seem.
Yeah, this is good for Thomas Hinz. He's well within the slipstream range of Cam Dance, so he's going to get a nice speed boost here down the straights. And Veld, you could argue, is getting a double draft from this, but he's not quite able to get alongside Thomas Hinz because he himself is getting the slipstream from Cameron Dance. Looks like there's been trouble for Cruz Mason again down the field. He's back down to 13th now. Was ahead of the likes of Bowler, Faulkner and Hall. It's on again between Tyson Broad and Simon Mazzomo for 5th, and this time Broad completes the move cleanly into Tamburello.
There we go, alongside and ahead under brakes into the corner. That's how you get the job done with a little bit more confidence and control, and able to solidify that one, it seems, through the Villeneuve chicane. So watch out, those two will probably still be at it as this race goes on, though. Mark my words, I've been racing quite hard on Tuesday nights over with the Aussie Online Gaming Porsche Cup, and after 15 rounds of racing, I think it's, I counted 33 individual races, and many thousands of points. There's only 79 between those two in that series, as it would happen. So expect them to not give up at this point. As look at this here, Hayden Veld trying to put all kinds of pressure on Thomas Hinz. A little bit of a rough run through the Acro Minerale complex. Opens up a bit of a gap there between Cam Dance and Thomas Hinz Reese, but Veld not able to capitalise as a penalty to Cruz Mason has come through from race control. So we'll see the 43 car down onto the pit lane at some point during this race.
Yeah, that was for the contact on Matthew Bowler coming into turn 2 on lap 1. I'm guessing that, you know, considering how long it's taken race control to apply that penalty, they're still working through quite a few incidents from the opening laps. So I don't blame them for taking their time with that. Let's see what Hayden Veld can do to try and get past Thomas Hinz here. These top 3 have been together all race so far, and we're rapidly approaching the final 5 laps of this race. The battle is still going on for 5th as well. Tyson Broad having to go briefly defensive there versus Simon Mazzomo, with Mez in the draft down the front straight. Look at me, I'm using these American racing terms from ovals: draft, front stretch, back stretch, whatever. It's the start-finish straight and it's the slipstream. Let's get that right. Pit stop there. No, pit lane tour for Cruz Mason. That's him serving the penalty. He's going to fall behind Lindsay Hobbs there, who goes through. And Hobbs has had a very tough night so far, but keeping it on track for the time being. Still has to try and gain back a couple of places here.
It would be nice indeed. And looking to try and capitalise as, yeah, currently down in 14th and second last of the runners still on circuit. Unfortunately there for Hobbs. Has a bit of time to also try and make up if he wants to get it done. As meanwhile, middle of the lap, passed by Simon Mazzomo on Tyson Broad, that place. And let's see here, up the hill towards Piratella. Looks like maybe a bit of a send here. No, it's going to be on the exit.
We should stay on the replay and switch to the top 3 shortly. Just letting you know.
Indeed. In fact, yeah, that's definitely going to be there. Up the inside on the way down into the Acro Minerale complex, and Broad tries to stick it out, but we've already seen the outside is nigh on suicide. Is further just in behind. Then Daniel Cheney makes a mistake and loses spots to Damon Mulqueen and Matthew Bowler. Meanwhile, down at Rivata 1, Thomas Hinz.
Let's stay on the replay, guys.
Oh, lordy. Yeah, okay.
Right. Okay, we're just going to be commentating this entire race from replay, aren't we? There was the mistake from Hinz. Cameron Dance still in the lead, with Hayden Veld finding his way into second. Now here's the slipstream on the way down the front straight. All of this just happened live. Let's highlight. Cameron Dance, uncharacteristic error here from the championship leader, dipped a wheel into the grass and off into the gravel trap. Hayden Veld leads, Thomas Hinz is in second again, and Hayden Sell up into the top 3, as there goes Tyson Broad up the inside of Simon Mazzomo again. This 5th place battle is not over at all.
Indeed, back and forth they will apparently go all night long, it seems. That time there from Broad was definitely a lot more aggressive with the positioning once they got through the initial apex at turn 2, and forcing Mazzomo to yield the spot, not able to commit to a side-by-side action there, which gives himself a bit of a gap. But in behind them now, Damon Mulqueen and Matthew Bowler, who probably have a little bit more pace in them, I would think. Not much, but just a bit. And given that we've got 5 laps to go on this one, plenty of time for these two to get on the bumper properly of the 2 ahead and switch the order around some more, as Mulqueen's slow off of the very anti-Alta chicane, and not seeing a slowdown on my end, but yeah, certainly backed way off on the way down the hill. Bowler, easy pass on the line for Rivata 1. He's now got a little bit of clear track and eyes forward to try and catch Mazzomo and Broad as we return to the front of the field. And here we are. So Veld, Hinz, Sell, but with 2 seconds between your race leader and Hinz in P2, not under a huge amount of pressure. Is Hayden Veld, and should have, with just under 5 laps to go, might be able to hang on here for the win. Question of how much that gap changes and how much pace Hinz can now extract from his car with a bit of clean air ahead.
I think my brain needs to be rebooted because this has been a very chaotic race here in the flat sixes at Imola. But we still have 5 laps to go, and it is on for second. I think we've seen pretty much everyone in the field make a mistake at least once here tonight. And I'm just amazed that we still have battles as close as this for the top 2 positions, top 3 even. There's Hayden Veld going into Variante Alta, leads by 2 seconds over Thomas Hinz. Hayden Sell, though, looking very quick. Sell has the fastest lap of the race so far, 1:44.7. He was 0.3 slower than Thomas Hinz on the previous lap, but should get some of that pace back here with a nice clean run down to Ravazza. Hinz, I think, a little bit unstable on the entry. Meanwhile, battle for 5th. Look who's here, Bowler and Mulqueen, and they are on Mazomo for 6th place now. This could give a bit of time to Tyson Broad here as Bowler gets up the inside of Mazomo and up into 6th place. Mazomo's exit will be compromised onto the start-finish straight, and that might give half a chance to Damon Mulqueen to try and nab 7th spot. There's the view back from Tyson Broad. He has absolutely left these guys behind. You go side by side through a couple of turns here at Imola, and that's what happens. Well,
Gap comes back inside a second as they make their way down the front straightaway there. So did lose a bit of time thanks to a hint of slipstream there for Bowler, despite that compromised run through Ravazza too, and now just chips away a little bit more, I think. And yeah, does chip away a bit more indeed. On the way down to the Villeneuve, you can see Bowler really aggressively using the anti-cut curbs to just get the car rotated through a bit of instability, and it's working quite nicely. It picks up another 0.2 or so on the way to the Tosa hairpin. So Broad's chance here to get away quite limited as Bowler stretches his legs a bit here, and then up through Piratella, pushing the limits a bit there on the exit. Have to indeed be careful with that dark green AstroTurf. Not a lot of grip there, as you mentioned before we got into qualifying, but if you can line it up right, it does just provide enough in most cases. There's a poor run off of Ackerman Arale there for Mazomo. Gonna give Mulqueen the option round the outside, becomes the inside of the second part, the Variante Alta. Meanwhile, Bowler's gotten up the inside of Broad on the exit of the same corner. So 2 change of position at the same place, although Mazomo's going to fight it down here into the Ravazzas.
Side by side on the way in. Mulqueen on the inside. Mazomo's going to try and hang it around the outside of these corners, but off into the marbles just a little bit. Gets on the throttle nicely, though, and will get a slightly better run onto the start-finish straight. And you see how there's that double kink, double right-hand kink on the way down this straight. That will give Mazomo an ever so brief advantage, but then Mulqueen's going to get it back here in turn 1, and on the braking zone for turn 2, he's on the inside. Mazomo's going to try and fight it, but I think Mulqueen just a little bit too far ahead there for him to make any difference to that. So Mazomo back into 8th place. Still 2-car battles all throughout your top 10. There's the battle for 2nd between Hinz and Sell here behind Hayden Veld. There's the battle for 5th between Bowler and Broad. Bowler looking very quick here in the late stages. Cameron Dance in a no man's land there. Just behind these two, there is that battle between Mulqueen and Mazomo. For 9th and 10th, Benjamin Faulkner and Daniel Cheney are in a little fight here. Cheney up 10 spots, good to see. And then there's another 2-car battle that's just eventuated for 11th between John Courtney and Liam Hall. Oh boy. So this is how things stand coming onto the 11th lap of this race. They'll have 2 to go when they cross the line next. Most positions gained in the field, Matthew Bowler, 14 places up.
Yep, certainly out of place in qualifying, out of place with the errors in race 1, sending him down basically stone dead last for this second race, and well, finally not getting too tripped up. They had a bit of drama to deal with on lap 1, which has sort of stalled out his progress, and P5 is probably as far as he goes tonight as a result. But, well, a case of what could have been if he'd maybe taken qualifying a bit more seriously, perhaps, and put himself in a better place for that first race. There's that start-finish line to start lap 12 or 13 here for this group of drivers. They make their way down into Tamburello for the second last time in this one. You can see here trying to make sure you maximize the exit of 3 and 4 to keep the speed up. It does mean you have to compromise what speed you can take through turn 2, of course, and then down into the Villeneuve chicane. How much of that anti-cut are you willing to take here? Really push the limits. Zomo not really making any inroads, as it were, on Malkin, but at least keeping him on here as they come out of the Tosa hairpin and up the hill to Puritella. They will go.
Mazomo's looking pretty quick here, up behind Damon Mulqueen. Looks like Liam Hall's made his way past John Courtney for 11th in the meantime. Those two just swapping places, I think, down at Tosa. But we'll stay with this fight. And oh dear, a little bit wide there for Mazomo in Acqua Minerale, but ever so slightly wide there for Mulqueen. It looks like Matthew Bowler's starting to gain time on Tyson Broad as well. He's put some distance between those two for 5th as well. Oh dear, got to take it easy there on the exit. That might be a slowdown potentially for Simon Mazomo. White flag though flies for Hayden Veld, and it looks like Hinz and Sell have enough space between them that battle's not going to happen on the final lap either.
Sell's backed off a huge amount, it would seem, as Hinz has been closing the gap to Hayden Veld bit by bit, but it's going to have to come down to some massive gains here to change it up. And indeed, slow down at Variante Alta for the 551 of Mazomo has still not been cleared. It's only just cleared it now on the front stretch. That will have absolutely obliterated any opportunity to compete with Mulqueen for that 7th place spot. As we check in here with the other drivers, as Tyson Broad not willing to let go of that P5 spot that Matt Bowler now holds, has held for a couple of laps now here at the end of this race, trying to throw everything at the car, it seems, to hang on within half a second at this point, and doing a good job there as your leaders are down into Acqua Minerale for the final time, and the gap almost a second now between Veld and Hinz. It's coming down, but it's coming down too late as they make their way up the hill to the Variante Alta for the last time tonight in the flat sixes at least. We'll still see plenty more runs through here in the V8s just to come up shortly, as down the hill. One more braking zone and a lift to negotiate here for Hayden Veld. And, well, quite achievements tonight, it would seem. P3 in the first race after climbing up through the field. Brings it round Ravazza 2, and now it's the run to the finish for the 53 machine. And, well, keep your nose clean. Don't get yourself into any trouble. And you get yourself a race win from time to time. And that is the case there for the 53 of Hayden Veld. Yourself a win here in the flat sixes at Imola.
Lovely stuff there from Hayden Veld. Brilliant job. Took advantage of the drama around him. Looks like Matthew Bowler's going to hold on for 5th, and Broad will cross the line in 6th place. Still on between Faulkner and Cheney, though. Cheney trying to get every little bit of slipstream he can on the way up to the line, but it's not going to be enough. He will have to settle for 10th place, but still, I think he'll be happy with gaining 10 spots after a very difficult first race. Oh dear. That's Hayden Veld, I think, going for a little bit of a victory celebration there, driving through the Villeneuve chicane backwards. It is now a front-engine, front-wheel drive car.
Indeed, it's a bit of an interesting arrangement, I guess you could call it, as comes around, actually able to get it around the Toaster hairpin.
He's getting some good pace out of it, isn't he?
He's banging off the limiter at 110 kph in reverse, and then goes for the J-turn. And not a bad job there.
Sick. Nicely done. Well, good to see a happy face on Hayden Veld. He's been looking for some good results this year. He's had some pretty poor luck in V8SCOPS supports this year. So he'll get a victory on the board here in race 2 at Imola, with Thomas Hinz coming home 1.2 seconds behind. Hayden Sell is going to complete the podium and get a bit of redemption for that unfortunate finish to the first race. Cameron Dance in 4th with that big mistake coming into turn 2. He'll be ruining that mistake indeed. That might have closed things up between himself and Thomas Hinz. Matthew Bowler in 5th. Broad 6th, Mulqueen will beat Mazomo to the line by a second, and Benjamin Faulkner and Daniel Cheney only a 10th separating them for the last two positions in the top 10.
Indeed, it was close up and down the field as it happens. Fortunately, didn't get a chance to cover all of it, but talk you through the back half of the field, and well, unfortunately, only half of the drivers here made it to the finish. Liam Hall there brought it home in P11 ahead of John Courtney in 12th. Isaac Edwards quiet P13, it would seem. Him there in that one. Lindsay Hobbs, a bit of a rough night for him, wraps up in 14th place, just ahead of Cruz Mason in 15th. And then we get into our three retirements of Taylor Oakes, Brady Baldwin and Sebastian Flock, all making it only one lap in this race. And then Lachlan Capel and Mark Noble not taking the start in race 2. So bit of a reduced grid for that one there. And well, that just about wraps it up for the flat sixes, but Thomas Inns is standing by. I think we might just have a quick chat with him, given all the results for him tonight. I think Reese, and also given championship position and all that for Hinsey. Race 2 in particular, a bit of an improvement. And well, yeah, getting right to the point here, Hinsey, it's been a bit of a crazy night from what we saw in the comms booth, with a whole bunch of stuff up and down the field. How was it like for you out there on track in those races tonight?
Yeah, good. Yeah, no, got a, just yeah, it was pretty, I guess, quiet for me, really. For the first one, it was pretty quiet. I sort of didn't quite have the pace to keep with Cam, and my memory's gone already. But yeah, pace for in the lead battle. I'm just going to go back and quickly check that. It was I can't remember anyway. But yeah, there, yes. Yes, Cell, that's right. Yes, thank you, Jay. Yeah, didn't have the pace to keep with them, but so I thought I'll just sort of chill in third and take the points. And then yeah, second race just seemed to, I don't know what it was, but just had it a bit more hooked. Really, it was weird. I didn't really do anything too different. I just did the same stuff and just seemed to work a bit better. But yeah, so obviously it was fighting for the lead, and then got it, and Cam got through again. I think he must have been running super low wing because he had a lot of straight line on me. And yeah, just unfortunately a little lock up into the second last corner. I went a loft there and lost a little time. And then of course Cam plowed off a corner later. So yeah, it would have been interesting. It would have been a good battle, me and Hayden. I'm not convinced I actually would have won it anyway, because I think Hayden also had low wing. I was noticing he was still catching me despite being the draft with Cam. So I think he would have definitely had a few runs at me. So it would have been a good battle. Shame that we didn't get to have that there, thanks to my little error. But yeah, good to get a couple of seconds and some good soul points.
Yeah, I mean, certainly race 1 there so far, it seems Cam came across the line there in first and still hasn't been scored as post-race penalties after there was some contact with Hayden Sell late in race 1. But you got a bit of an advantage there. Obviously, getting a bit more points back on him in race 2. That sort of somewhat evens out there a bit and keeps it all nice and tight between you two at the top of the point standings here in the flat sixes, thinking about the championship at least.
Yeah, no, it's always just funny to me how much me and Cam have fought for championships over the years, or especially in the last few years. Obviously, I think he was sort of in it last year for flat sixes, and obviously we had the battle win majors last year, and here we are again battling for flat sixes, and I think F4 as well. So we've battled a lot with each other over the years, but it's always good to battle Cam. He's one of the guys I respect the most in sim racing in general, honestly, but especially in the Oz NZ community. He's just such a great racer, and he's always awesome fun to race. So yeah, glad I can try and keep him honest. Unless we'll see. I mean, you never know in this championship. We found last year in the flat sixes, Riley was on to win it, and then he had that crash at Bathurst that cost him the title. So I mean, it's all it takes is a crash early on in a race that's terminal, and you get no points. So who knows? But yeah, I'll just keep doing the best I can and see where we end up.
And speaking of Bathurst, that's the next round, of course, for all things SCOPS, and flat sixes included. We'll have a 60k double sprint, just like we've seen here tonight. Thoughts on the combination of the 992 and the mountain when that comes around in a couple of weeks' time?
Yeah, that'll be a lot of fun. Obviously, I mean, that's the cliched thing to say, isn't it? It's Bathurst, everything's amazing. Unfortunately, it's Bathurst. Well, not unfortunately, it is Bathurst. It is very good fun. I'll go with the crowd on that one. So I usually like to be the hipster, but not in this case. But yeah, no, it should be a lot of fun. Obviously, again, classic thing, but Bathurst, it's always. I mean, again, last year was where Riley had his big thing that sort of cost him the title. So yeah, it's all it takes is a bit too much biffo on that one or something, and that could be it. So it should definitely be a juicy one. But yeah, hopefully be some more good racing and more good results to come. Fingers crossed.
Well, before we let you go, Tom, Indy, who would you like to thank for that result there tonight?
Yeah, Tom, I know you're talking about there, Dan. Yeah, just obviously the HER crew as always. Henry and everyone for their support. They're just an awesome crew. Just they're all fantastic, and love being able to rep the awesome paints that Henry does, because he's a magician with paints. It's always great running his just primo paints. I know obviously SRC as well with Gibbo and them as well for their support. And yeah, big thanks to obviously Henry and everything for all the work he does for supports in general to keep it going. It's awesome fun, obviously, and big thanks to you guys for putting on a great show, I'm sure.
Well, there we are. Thomas Inns, seconds all round for the number one machine here in the flat sixes at Imola tonight.
Thanks, guys.
Let's have a chat to Hayden Veld as well, our winner from race 2. A podium for you tonight, Hayden, as well in race 1. Pretty good night, all things considered.
Yeah, definitely wasn't expected. Like, came into this round, I mean, I signed up last night, and I was just planning on having a bit of a lob, and really wasn't expected to have the result like that. So pretty happy with it.
Yeah, definitely was a case of keeping the car on the track here tonight, with plenty of drivers making mistakes. It's a very difficult circuit here at Imola.
Yeah, it was. I was just trying to get in the mirrors of Hinsey at the start, just move around, try and force a mistake. Wasn't expecting it to happen, to be honest with you. I thought couldn't crack him, and then all of a sudden he made one, and then Cam two turns later. But then from there, I realised I had a bit of a gap and just decided I'll just back it off a little bit. I don't have to push. I just have to set, decent laps where I'm not going to crash, and I've got it.
Indeed. Well, either way, that is a double podium and a win on the board for you in your first race in the flat sixes. Can we expect you at Bathurst?
I don't see why not. As long as I'm around, I'll definitely give it another send. Enjoyed it heaps. Love the car. Awesome track. I'll be back.
Indeed. Well, hopefully we get another chance to talk to you, Hayden. But before we let you go, anyone you'd like to thank?
Just everyone over at SSR, all the sponsors there. I'm sure you've heard them a million times. Matthew Bowler for the Hyperdoc. It was awesome. Yeah, it's about it, really. And you guys for putting on the broadcast, for usual.
Well, that's Hayden Veld there. Third place and first place here at Imola. Fantastic stuff. Well, we're going to go on a very short break here on SimSpeed TV as we get ready for the V8s. You're watching the Logitech G V8SCOPS Support Series here at Imola. 2 more races coming up in old V8 touring cars.
What does it take to win? Is it something you're born with? Is it the grind? Every day. Gear up. Do battle. For the 10,000th time. Or is it pushing to your absolute limits? To be faster. Always faster. Insanely precise. Totally free, and at one with the game. Or maybe it's just getting to that place where nothing else matters. Nothing in the way of winning.
This is iRacing, the world's premier online racing game. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat to experience today's newest form of competitive motorsport, virtual racing. all from your home PC. Race virtually in indoor series from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, Aussie Supercars and more. Take on legendary circuits like Daytona, Silverstone and the Nürburgring. Join iRacing's global online racing community and get on track today at iRacing.com.
Fantastic. This is GT racing right now. He's got traction, he's got everything outside of both of them. Maloney!
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up to
Oh my God! Oh, big crash. Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled.
Six very close. These guys I want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no, that's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God.
God, what?
You're watching the Logitech G V8SCOPS Support Series for 2022. It's a big weekend. We've got the 2-litre Tourers coming up tomorrow for a 250k Enduro, and then, of course, the V8SCOPS Imola 500 on Sunday. But we've still got 2 races worth of action to get out of the way here on Friday night. We've seen some chaotic races in the flat sixes. Hopefully, the V8s are a little bit calmer here. I'm Reese Gardner. It's Dan Yeaman alongside me in the comms box. And Dan, it's looking like a bit of a smaller field here for the V8s, but I don't think that's going to be of much relevance here because Imola always providing some fantastic racing no matter what car it is.
Very true there indeed. As we quickly check out the feed here. The memorial to Ayrton Senna, immortalized both in real life and here on iRacing as well. And, well, a fitting tribute to one of the greats, fortunately taken from us far too soon due to the dangers of racing as they have been, unfortunately. But such is the risk that all the greats take when they get behind the wheel in real life. A quick refresh of the track map here. The current configuration as of 2008 that we have here, just under 5 kilometers of asphalt to negotiate here in 19 turns, with complexes such as the Tamburello and Villeneuve chicanes to break up that otherwise what would be extremely fast Sector 1 down into the Tosa hairpin, and then the rise and the fall at Piratella down to then Acra Minerale as well. Climb back up to the Variante Alta chicane before you drop back down into the Rivarza turns, and then fire it along the front stretch once again to Tamburello to start your lap all over once more. And well, we've seen that it's a tricky place to master in a Porsche GT3 Cup car, and I reckon it'll be just as much a handful in these V8s that we've got to race here this evening. Before we get to qualifying, chance to walk through the points results, and well, much like the top of the flat sixes results race, it is incredibly close for the top of the V8s here.
It is. Simon Mazzomo will be hoping for some better luck than he suffered in the flat 6 races. He's only 3 points behind Aaron Gilbert coming into this round with an excellent performance at Phillip Island. They are very clear of Henry King, but Henry is going to have to look over his shoulder because Gavin Cox of Middle Finger Racing is breathing down his neck. James Anderson, he led the standings very early on in the season. Unfortunately, he is not here tonight and will not get a chance to try and take the V8's title. And Daniel Stevens, teammate to Gavin Cox at MFR, will be looking to make up some more places here. He's had a bit of a difficult season at times, though he has shown great pace in the number 3. We'll see how they go then as practice is over and we'll get qualifying started here. 4:15 in the afternoon in sim time, and it's looking like some nice clear weather out there on track. 34 degrees Celsius track temperature, 26 degree air temperature, 40% humidity with westerly winds at about 10-11 k's an hour or thereabouts. Drivers out on track now. We'll see who will be the fastest over a single lap in this very short 10-minute qualifying session. Who topped the practice times, meanwhile? It was Dion de Graaf, of all people, 1 minute 43.7, and Matt Haywood putting himself into second in practice with a 1:43.7. Our championship leader only third. And this is the format for tonight. No required pit stops, and it's 2 sprint races of 13 laps each, a 60-60 race format.
Just like we saw for the flat 6s, the out-and-out sprint tonight with a progressive grid. And well, pardon me, I just noticed a small thing in the background on my end. And actually being advised, indeed, black flags for unsafe pit entries already coming up here in the qualifying session, which will force the drivers of Daniel Stevens and Kobe Marshall back to the lane to abandon their first attempts. As always in V8SCOPS and related events, the no escape rule in effect once more, and meaning that they won't get a chance. Well, again, you just have to reset the cars and start again, which will put them off sequence with everyone who's currently out there and getting ready to start their first flyers. And well, yep, there is one of the drivers affected, Daniel Stevens, in the number 3 machine, Middle Finger Racing. A bit of an unexpected moment there to see Stevens made that mistake. And
that's a horrible position for him to be in. Oh, goodness gracious.
Well, so there's something we've learned. Don't bring up that information piece when you've got not set a time in qualifying. As Stevens, as we said, they're back to the lane straight away to get that penalty cleared as soon as possible and get a time on the board pretty soon, because just like the flat 6s as well, 10 minutes of qualifying. Heat format for the racing server means that it's a hard cut, so very limited opportunities will be provided to these drivers to get their best time on the board. The first driver at the head of the queue is Henry King in the number 2. Let's watch him for the rest of the lap here as he exits Tosa and heads up the hill to Curatella here.
Very challenging course in any car, but especially in these V8s. They have a lot of power going through, a locked differential to both rear wheels. Got to be careful how you put the power down, but these cars can take the curbs a lot better than the flat 6s can, so expect an awful lot of curb usage from these guys. Just an update on Kobe Marshall and Daniel Stevens. Stevens, that was a definite unsafe pit exit. He crossed onto the racetrack too early. Looks like Kobe Marshall took the pit limiter off a little too early himself and speeding in pit lane, I believe, for him. Let's see how Henry King goes then. On the way down the hill to the Ravazza corners. It's still a flat-out right-hander here in the V8s, but you've got to get on the brakes a little bit earlier than you think. Got to be so careful on the way down that downhill braking zone and take care over the curbs on the exit as well. Nice clean exit for Henry King, and we'll get our first lap time of the session on the board. What kind of time can we expect here from Henry King? 1 minute 43.86, and that is pretty much on pace there with the times we saw in practice. Dion de Graaf goes to provisional pole. Meanwhile, 1 minute 43.6. Dion is looking incredibly quick here tonight. Aaron Gilbert slotting into second. Simon Mazzomo, fifth of the cars that have set times so far.
That's quite impressive to see. De Graaf getting all his time in the third of 5 sectors here on Henry King. Lost time in every other sector bar the final to the number 2 machine that we saw go across the line first. So quite impressive to note there, pulling 0.2 of a second over the course of the lap as that happened. One of the next cars, well, one of the last cars across the line, I should say, will be the 66 of Darren Crosby here on the M1 racing machines tonight. Going to be a more conservative time of 1:45.586 for him, but here's at least a number on the board for now. Above all else, we'll have time to get back to the pits and reset for another run later on, as we just see there the Excalibur Racing entry of Lindsay Hobbs, the number 12. Well, another one of the drivers who had a bit of a torrid time in the flat sixes just then. We're hoping for a better run at it here in the V8s, as he's currently on that. One of the drivers on a flying lap, it looks to be here, Reese Hayden Johnson in the 333 machine. He comes down the hill from the very young Delta, not long left on his first lap here.
Yeah, just a couple more corners to go for him. It looks like he's got Simon Mazzomo up ahead of him there on track. And oh dear, that's a bit of a lock-up coming into Ravazza. Not the best line through the corner for him, but we'll see what he can do. Coming up to the end of this lap, he is going to go into the pits, along with many others here, making their way in. De Graaf, Gilbert, King, Haywood, Mazzomo, Stevens and Johnson all into the lane after the completion of their first flying laps. We actually no, Stevens is not in the lane, sorry. I had him highlighted in the sim, which means he appears as orange on my timing, the same color as drivers that are in the pits. He is out on track on his first flying lap here and showing off his new rig spectacularly. A brand new track racer rig there for Daniel Stevens, and have a look at that gear display. That is pretty massive numbers there. No doubt as to what gear he's in as he makes his way down to the bottom of the circuit to end the lap. It's a nice smooth exit for him as well, up through the gears. Just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the way up to the start-finish line. And what will the time be here for the number 3? It is going to be a 1 minute 44.6, and that puts him into 5th.
Pretty much right on 1 second down on your race, or provisional pole sitter, I should say. In fact, going by the overlay there, 999. So, well, as close as you can get without actually hitting that marker is Kobe Marshall, the other driver who infringed that pit lane exit penalty. As you noted there early on, getting off the limiter a bit too soon. 325. Driver will come across the line. 149.2 is a bit off the pace as well, but it's valid and on the board at least. It's something he can try and improve on, but he's got a lot of time left here, and he might actually have to go for another run on the same set of tyres here, which is going to be a bit of an ask in one of these cars, given the temperatures and the general way they behave. There's Childs in the 33 for Fog League Juice Racing, currently P8. He comes across the line to try and improve, but no, that's not an improvement from him. Looks like it might have been a bit of a cool-down lap as he goes again. This, though, will be his final chance to get a better time on the board here, given the 2 minutes and change remaining on the clock.
Yeah, well, Childs currently in 8th at the moment, so not too bad, all things considered. Let's see what Lindsay Hobbs can do then in this brilliant-looking machine. Very striking livery out there on track with the red headlight covers. Auto Barn signage on the side. 147.0 there for Lindsay Hobbs. That's his first time on the board. Actually, no, it's not. It didn't count. That's an invalid lap for Lindsay. Got an off track somewhere along the way. Henry King, though, is on his second flying lap, and this will be another effort from him to try and get provisional pole position. He's currently 2/10 off the fastest time set by Dion de Graaf. So where can he potentially gain that? It'll all be about the exits from the slow corners like Tosa, but mid-corner speed is really where you need to have it in the middle sector as well. What about Kobe Marshall?
Good point here. We'll see if Kobe can move. I was just going to say, in the first sector on this current run, Henry King picked up nearly 2/10 on Dion de Graaf. He's got great pace. In fact, not even improving on his first sector on this current lap, and it was still nearly 2/10 better than what de Graaf did with a personal best in Sector 1. Matched in Sector 2 was de Graaf. At Sector 3, a PB for King. This might be the chance for the number 2 machine to jump back up to the top of the charts. It's all about what happens here in Sector 3 for de Graaf, and it's a shocker for de Graaf, way off the pace. Meanwhile, further on behind, so that knocks out de Graaf's chance at a run here. King of 15.1 through the penultimate sector, a purple sector for the 551 of Mazomo, and his other sectors look okay, apart from Sector 2 being off pace, but crucially, eyes on the number 2 machine. 43.607 is enough. He goes to the top.
Nice lap from Henry King. What about Simon Mazomo? 1 minute 44.7 for him. That gains him 3 places. And the checkered flag will fly momentarily in the session. One driver's going to make it across the line in time. And then it was Cruz Mason, but ended up not setting a representative time there. So that's the end of qualifying for the V8s, and we are going to go through the grid here. It's 15 cars on the field for this one. Henry King gets pole position. Starts alongside Dion de Graaf on the first row. Aaron Gilbert and Matt Haywood going to be 3rd and 4th. Haywood really repping the number 8 nicely there. Daniel Stevens in 5th, starting alongside Toby Stent in 6th place. In 7th, it is going to be Simon Mazomo. He's going to start alongside Stephen Kennedy in the number 55. Lance Childs and Thomas Riley will share the 5th row. Darren Crosby and Kobe Marshall are 11th and 12th, and the last drivers to set times, and then drivers who didn't get a lap on the board. Hayden Johnson and Cruz Mason 13th and 14th, and it looks like Troy Sipple are going to start alongside Lindsay Hobbs at the back of the grid. And now Troy didn't take part in qualifying, so remains to be seen whether or not he will make it onto the grid. But we've got the majority of our cars out there, Dan, and we'll be getting ready for a start momentarily.
That we will indeed. Now, the joys of the manual safety cars mean that Paul Lindsay Hobbs is actually on the back of the 9th row by himself, staggered even more so in relation to Troy Sipple than he normally would be. But, well, he'll live and let live, I guess, all considered there. And I believe we now have just about everyone on the grid, and it's now just a matter of waiting out the clock here for this one. Pardon me, we actually are missing Troy Sipple in the 17, so we may be one shy. I have a 15-car grid for this one. Otherwise, indeed, 10 seconds until the timer expires and we get ready to start the V8s race. And of course, the lights here at Imola, we'll be able to watch for those ones here today as to when things go green. There we are. Time is up. Revs rise. Get ready for the first race of the V8s. It's underway here at Imola, and a great start from King off the pole. Not so great from de Graaf on the outside. It's going to allow Aaron Gilbert up the inside for Tamburello. Mazomo, meanwhile, further on back, an absolute launch of a start and gets himself up the inside, challenging for P4.
Daniel Stevens got an absolutely awful start. Meanwhile, he fell back to 7th place. He's just been passed by Thomas Riley. They go into single file then out of Tamburello, and it is an HJR Jinx Shifters 1-2 at the front of the field, side by side. Meanwhile, between Stevens and Stent. Oh, goodness, Stent having to take some avoiding action off the circuit there. That's going to let Lance Childs through, who then goes for the move up the inside of Daniel Stevens. And Dan gives him some room on the outside, which gives him a lovely exit out of Tosa. Some good racing going on there in the back half of the field. Stent's going to have to go defensive versus Stephen Kennedy. You just see them in the background there. But Kennedy rounding him up around the outside of Piratella. Some very nice driving there. But it's Henry King who leads from Aaron Gilbert. Oh dear, that's a bit of an issue there for the Holden of Toby Stent, having to let Cruz Mason go just a little bit. Well, we'll check back in with our leaders then. HJR in the best position possible.
They are indeed. Was basically about as good as launch we're going to get. Henry King and Gilbert followed him through just quite nicely. A little bit slow on the reactions for Dion de Graaf and not able to get the initial jump that he needed. And as a result, he slipped back.
Oh, incident further back, Cruz Mason.
I just saw the pass opportunity starting to unfold and thinking maybe that was a chance for Mason there to pull off a nice one there into Ravazza 1, but unfortunately has collected the 66 Darren Crosby, and they both go tumbling down the order. Here it is on the replay, thanks to Virtual Racing School, and just unfortunate, I think, in this case. I didn't quite see it all, the chance to see how things went wrong. We might want to start on the replay and get down to Tamburello, and indeed, Mason just too deep under brakes.
Lost it.
And gets the rears all kinds of crisscrossed, trying to pull it up to the apex of the penultimate turn there, and loses the spot as a result. So trouble down here between the Triple Eight, or for the Triple Eight of Thomas Riley. This is what I just caught on live whilst we were looking at the replay. And have a look at this here at Tamburello race.
And whoop, rear end brakes free. And wow, Stevens had to really check up there. That brought Lance Childs and Stephen Kennedy right into it as well. So fortunately, no big contact from those guys, but we're going to go to another replay here because apparently there's been something going wrong for Dion de Graaf. Went wide coming into Tosa, and oh dear, I think he's picked up a slowdown somewhere.
Well, yeah, that is a massive slowdown. He must be Tamburello. If you like, you can see didn't have it cleared by the time he got to the exit of Tosa, still clearing it on the way up the hill at Piratella, and then has to go wide because he's parked himself on the apex of the turn and possibly picked up even more of a penalty. As a result, finally gets it cleared just as Daniel Stevens and co arrive on his rear bumper. So it's been a horror lap for de Graaf. Drops out of P3 back to P5, but also crucially loses about 4 seconds in the closeness.
Yeah, that's a real shame there for Dion de Graaf. Looking very quick in practice and qualifying, but not able to take advantage in the race thanks to that slowdown. Well, we'll check him out here from Daniel Stevens' perspective on the way down into turn 1 as they begin the third lap of 13. And have a look at that. I think Stevens might have gone a little bit deep into Tamburello there. Either that or de Graaf slowing up massively for the first part of Tamburello. Either way, the focus is certainly on Daniel Stevens' features. You can't see his face, but we're very sure that he has got his eyes forward and is looking to make up positions, get them back. He started 5th and is currently in 6th.
Yeah, trying to make gains. Good news for Stevens is Thomas Riley is now a bit of a cork in the bottle for Lance Childs, it would seem, and Steve Kennedy and Toby Stenner just behind them as well. So a bit of breathing room for Stevens if he gets a little bit closer to de Graaf and able to potentially apply some pressure there. Have some options as Childs is looking for the move on Riley, but is forced to the left side of the track for the entry to Ackerman and Riley.
Nope.
What that does, though, is send Riley in narrow and to the grass. Unfortunately, Thomas Riley, the defensive setup does not work there when you've got the car like this loaded up. And that will send him tumbling down the order in behind Lindsay Hobbs. Back to P12 for him, out of P7. Certainly a moment of regret there as Chris Mason has fallen a long way behind everyone else. Something else seems to have gone awry for him, but a black flag just issued now by race control indeed. Joe Kennedy just pointing that one out, but yeah, wasn't that far behind the field, I don't think. In fact, might have picked up some more damage there in the interim since we last checked on him, but he'll now have to take a tour of the lane to clear the penalty from race control.
Yeah, second penalty of the night there for Cruz Mason. Remember, he got one in the flat 6s as well. So, things have worked out pretty well for Matt Haywood, haven't they? He's taken advantage of those issues for Dion de Graaf and finds himself in 3rd, and with a good margin back to the battling pair of Mazzomo and de Graaf for 4th. He doesn't seem to have much of an answer to the pace of the HJR cars, who both set 1 minute 44.2s on the last lap. Haywood with a 44.5. Those two up ahead drafting each other very nicely, keeping the rest of the field more than honest. But if Haywood can hold on to this, then that will be a very welcome podium in race 1 of the V8s. The battling is certainly going on further back, though, isn't it? Here's the last position in the top 10 under threat. Lindsay Hobbs trying to keep Hayden Johnson behind him here. And they got Thomas Riley and Darren Crosby battling just behind as well. So there's plenty of racing to go here. Lock up for Hobbs on the way into the Acqua Minerale complex, but he keeps it on the track, crucially. It's a sprint race here in the V8s, and it's only 13 laps. The tyres aren't going to be put through much, but you still got to try and look after them, and it seems that Hobbs is still having issues there with locking up those fronts.
Very tricky car at the best of times, and when you're firing it into a corner, you want to try and get it pulled up so you can then get the car up onto the curbs. Well, braking and turning, grip and brake and turn is at a premium, to say the least. Big wobble there in the background is shot from Thomas Riley in the 888 machine. That puts him under some pressure, I think, from Darren Crosby. But speaking of drivers trying to put on some pressure, Dion DeGraff sends it up the inside of Simon Mazzomo at Tamburello. Mazzomo's going to try and fight it off, but oh dear me, DeGraff with such a send up the inside will take that place and force Mazzomo out of that spot there. And well, yeah, in the time since we checked on DeGraff last, he dropped Daniel Stevens by a good margin. It was absolutely reeling in Mazzomo, and well, with that one move there, he gets through on Mazzomo without too much fuss, but it does bring Stevens back into the equation a bit. A chance to look at that on replay. No, pardon me. We're going to have a look here at Lindsay Hobbs for a second. Down to Tamburello.
Hayden Johnson is ahead of him now, and this is how it happened. Another big send.
Nope. Looks like it wasn't. Okay, it was an intention to send maybe, but instead forces the error out of Hobbs through Tamburello. All kinds of compromised exit there, and nice wrap around the outside at turn 4 at the end of the complex for the 333 machine there. So check that box off for how to make the driver ahead, make an unforced error. 101.
It's on, meanwhile, here between Mazzomo and Stevens, and Mazzomo, remember, is only 3 points behind Aaron Gilbert for the championship lead. Gilbert running in second at the moment. So that's the reason why the HDR pair are running as they are up the front. There's no team orders there. They can afford to just race as they are and not worry about losing any points to Mazzomo here, especially because he's under a big threat from Daniel Stevens, who is still trying his darndest to get his way back into the top 5 and reflect his starting position. The slipstream is on right up to the top of 6th gear. And, well, looks like Stevens is making up bulk time here in the braking zones. You see he's almost on the bumper of Mazzomo there, but the exit is with Simon. Works it out nicely. He's definitely focusing on getting the power down nicely here.
Indeed he is. Meanwhile, here, no, there was a fight between Hobbs and Johnson once again into Tamburello, but oh my goodness, Johnson around the outside for the first part of the Villeneuve chicane. Going to force the issue with Lindsay Hobbs, who goes to the gravel. They both lock up, and Darren Crosby says, 2 for 1, thank you very much, I'll take that. And some serious commitment from Johnson. In the end, he does technically get the place, but we'll see here if it maybe is a call to redress that one, because it did send them both to the dirt. So he tried into Tamburello, not able to work. Great runoff of the final part of the complex. Is sent to the outside, actually gets around the outside, but look at the lockup as a result, and then both drivers offline, locked in front, trying to get these cars to break in turn, which they don't particularly appreciate in many a place. And then, job done for Darren Crosby. Meanwhile, drama for Daniel Stevens and Simon Mazzomo. Slowdowns both at the Variante Alta. Mazzomo was all kinds of crisscrossed over the apex curb, and Stevens took a bit too much curb as well for good measure. It brings Lance Childs to the equation now as they come down to the Ravatzes, and well, these two will half a chance of staying with Dion DeGraff, but now they've just blown that both as we go to a quick replay here, and you see, look at Mazzomo already opposite locked into the first part of Variante Alta, and Stevens jumping the apex curb and getting that slowdown for his troubles as well.
Well, big issues for both of these guys battling for the top 5, and it's definitely not helping their pursuit of Dion DeGraff up ahead. It's looking like DeGraff is a good bit faster than Matt Haywood as well. Gap 3 seconds between them for 3rd, so we'll see what happens between them in the last few laps, but this is certainly where it's at, this 3-way fight for 5th. Lance Childs vaulting his way up through the field in small amounts. He has gained 2 spots, started 9th and up into 7th. He managed to survive the melee of lap 1, which is always difficult here at Imola. But now, if Mazomo and Stevens keep making those mistakes, he could be looking at a top 5 finish in race 1, which will translate into a top 5 start for race 2. And let's see how they go then. Stevens a little bit wide there through Acca Minerali, keeps it on the curb though and avoids the slowdown there. And Variante Alta, this is where they picked up the slowdown on the last lap. Childs really rounding them up here, and they keep on the curbs nicely. No complaints from the car, no bouncing over the curbs like you usually see in these cars. They're just keeping it as stable as they can. And Stevens is in the draft now of Mazomo on the way down to Rivazza. Tries to keep it out of the rear of the Racecraft Simulations 9.5 Falcon. And Mazomo again focusing on the exit, paying dividends for him.
Yeah, absolutely critical, of course, with a track like this, with a straight like this, that you maximize the exit off of the corner immediately beforehand, because especially when you're in the position like this and you're going to defend your spot, you have to make sure you give yourself every advantage you can get, and Mazomo just covers off any potential for an outside attack from Daniel Stevens. A single file through Tamburello, as they were, but every bit of defending like that will bring drivers like Stephen Kennedy and maybe even Toby Stent into the picture. Next 2 cars out of shot. And Kennedy, you can see how she now technically on the back of the train here is in deep with Stevens at Tosa, but it looks like it worked out all right for him. As we now see, it's a train of 4, and well, switch the picture back just far enough, and we almost got 5 here, Rick.
Yeah, it's quite the train happening here for 5th place on track. See if Toby Stent can do anything to catch up to these guys, because you see him almost popping into the frame on a few of these camera angles. Stevens and Mazomo, it's been a very hard fight between them. Stevens sees the door open here. Can he go up the inside into Variante Alta? No, he has to back out of it. Compromised line there, which is going to leave him a little bit hung out to dry on the exit, a little bit in danger of being passed by Lance Childs, but still far enough ahead that he doesn't need to worry. You see how early Mazomo gets on the brakes there. That's a good example of just how difficult it is to slow these cars down. The flat 6s, they were going through that kink flat out before they got on the brakes for Rivazza. These V8s, they have to get on the brakes through that right-hander.
Yeah, they'll carry a fraction more speed than the Porsches that we saw earlier. As this
look
time,
at the draft!
Stevens has a monumental run with that slipstream indeed. Around the outside into Tamburello, and this time Mazomo not able to cover it off. He'll try and focus on the exit, but a little tap from Lance Charles and a big wobble through turns 2 and 3 will hurt him. But
Oh,
Stevens,
stay out of the grass!
My word! On the way out of turn 4 as well. Let's say for a second there, Stevens a bit of a rough run. Now that he's clear, in fact, a very compromised run through the next couple of turns here. That margin he had, all kinds of gone. Mazomo forces the issue at Tosa, loses the rear, loses the front, finds contact front and rear as everyone piles in. And unfortunately for Mazomo, maybe just a bit too aggressive in that particular moment. He walks away battered and bruised as everyone decided to take a piece out of his front and rear.
He had his sights on the championship lead coming into this round, did Mazomo, but it's all fallen apart here in race 1. We'll be hoping that he can get a better run in the second race. There is Ben Christensen in race control. He's having a good look at everything that's going on out there on track, and he'll probably be having a little bit of a peek at that incident we just caught. Either way, they're coming around to start lap 10 up the front of the field. Remember, these guys exist too. We'll go to Virtual Racing School replay. Those two have just been so far ahead. Let's see what happened again here to Mazomo. So it was already a bit of a scrappy start to the lap from him. Stevens, narrow on the way into Villeneuve, gets the compromised exit. Mazomo thinks, okay, I can have a go up the inside here. And Stevens keeps the door open, more or less, but Mazomo had to lock up and got a bit unstable. Then he got 2 taps in the rear from Lance Childs, and then from, I think that was Stephen Kennedy? Yes, it was. So yeah, we'll look at it on board here from Kennedy. Yeah, Mazomo spins, and well, I mean, if you're Kennedy, where do you go from there? You've already put the power down on the exit, and you're already tracking towards the outside.
There's not much he can do in his particular circumstance, indeed. Unfortunately, Nozomo just a little bit in too deep. The rears get completely destabilized there at Tosa, and looks like it's decided all hell for leather at this point in time as he runs that way through the Villeneuve chicane and then down to Tosa straight afterwards. And well, what it does mean is our closest fight on track now is actually your top two, as Aaron Gilbert, Henry King, pardon me, still leading Aaron Gilbert here. Said, no sign of team order between these two, despite the fact that Gilbert is the one that's technically, or is leading the championship coming into the round tonight. But it does mean that extra points for Henry will allow him to apply some rearwards pressure onto Nozomo at this stage, and that might not be a bad thing if you're thinking long term and you're playing the team game. All things considered, because well, for the V8 guys as well, these guys have not done a huge amount of races so far for the support season. Again, like the Flat Sixes, they've got a 19 race calendar for 2022, but we've only seen, this is the 9th race of that 19 race calendar here. So there's still plenty of races to go in this one for these guys, and I think they will take every opportunity to get bulk gains where they can. And check out that group further on back. Lance Childs and the other one here is Toby Stent, Trichetta, Dennis Stevens, but they're all spaced out somewhat evenly, it seems, at this point. About a second apiece between them.
Yep, nice and calm for these guys towards the end of the race. Looks like Toby Stent is starting to gain some time, though, on Lance Childs. Ran half a tenth slower on the last lap, but making up a slight bit of time coming into Tosa. He's briefly appearing on my live timing as a part of that battle. Either way, this race is still not over. The leader's coming up to start the final lap, and was hearing that maybe we might have had a change for the lead, but it doesn't look like that's the case. So Jay Kennedy getting us all amped up there for a second. These two are still out in front. It looks like the gap's increased a little bit. Aaron Gilbert's dropped off slightly from Henry King. And having a look at those guys, as there's a pass. Oh, no. Thomas Riley, he just completed the move there on Lindsay Hobbs, it seems, but immediately spinning it around. He's going to fall back to 14th now. And the last car running on the track, as Cruz Mason has retired the car there from race one after his penalty and a couple of other small issues. All right, lap 12. And this is where we're standing at the moment. King leading by 0.7 of a second from Gilbert. The battle for 5th still on here. It's amazing that Daniel Stevens has managed to hold on like he has, because the likes of Lance Childs have really put him under a lot of pressure here.
They have indeed, and the gap now coming down finally there between Stephen Childs, and both has dropped Toby Stent somewhat. So this is now not a extended three-way battle, but now very much a two-way fight to the end of this one. The question of what can Childs do once he gets right up on the back of Stevens, because that will be the important thing to note here. They come out of Toast the hairpin. Around 10th of a second, just under this stage. And you can tell that looked a little bit better for Childs than it does for Stevens. Able to get the apex and get a better exit. And come down the hill into Akram and Raleigh, and more apex curve for Childs through there as well. Reese just able to get the car pulled up a little better, it would seem, but Stevens is getting good exits through corners like Akram and Raleigh, so able to balance it out somewhat with those exits as the leaders come around the final two turns. And Gilbert's, I think, just about as close as he's been all race long now, down inside 3.5 tenths as they come to take the white flag from Barney here in the first of our two races for the V8s.
Well, it's been a very uneventful race for these two. Was definitely a couple of spanners in the works with Dion de Graaf in there with them too early on, but the slowdown for Dion has now put them in prime position to take a dominant 1-2 finish. It's amazing how far ahead they are. I mean, you do see that they're taking a couple of different lines here and there. The battle's still on circuit at the moment. Simon Mazzomo trying to get a spot back here. It's looking at 9th on Darren Crosby. Actually, he just lost 9th. He is currently running in 10th. Crosby making that pass on Mazzomo coming into turn 1 to start the final lap. Here's how it was done, thanks to our friends at Virtual Racing School, and the aero damage that Mazzomo has already picked up, definitely not doing him any favours there, as Crosby was easily past him in the slipstream and ahead into turn 1. Either way, back to these leaders as it is under a third of the lap to go now for them through the chicane one last time. But only half the racing completed. There's still a race to go here in the V8s. And it's a good run from Aaron Gilbert here coming out of Variante Alta. Will he pressure Henry King into Ravazza? He's going to close up a little under brakes, but looks like a nice orderly finish here between the Henry James Racing Jinx Shifters machines. Well, Henry King, team owner, going to come home to take victory here in race 1 at Imola for the V8s. Checkered flag, and it is Gilbert coming home in 2nd spot. Excellent stuff between those two. Matt Haywood will just fend off Dion de Graaf for 3rd. De Graaf making up bulk time in the last few laps, but it wasn't enough to get the podium position back. Daniel Stevens is going to hold on for 5th with Lance Childs and Toby Stent coming home behind him.
They are indeed. And that leaves the last couple of drivers coming across the line. Kevin Marshall hanging on just ahead of Thomas Riley here. Now, final flight here, but a little lock from Marshall through Ravazza 1. All about the exit now here from Ravazza 2. If Riley can straighten it up, might be half a chance here, but looks like it's not enough to pressure for the line. Marshall will hang on to 14th. Riley will have to be our 14th and final finisher in this race there at the line indeed. So that is your results that we can now declare, at least unofficial somewhat, but given the way that was a relatively uneventful one, that's pretty official for us here tonight. Henry King crossed the line by a 10th and a half ahead of Aaron Gilbert there, and Matt Haywood 4/10ths clear of Dion de Graaf for 3rd and 4th there. HJR 1-2, Simblacks 3 and 4. Now Stevens then leading the next 3 cars across the line. In fact, also our lone Commodores in the top 10. Certainly a bit of a blue wave tonight here if you down the party lines like so. Stevens from Childs from Stent there, 5, 6 and 7 in that group. And then Stephen Kennedy next across the line there in 8th ahead of Darren Crosby in 9th, who well and truly clears out ahead of Simon Mazzomo, and 10th at the end of that one, thanks to the damage seemingly hurting his result quite a bit there. Races, the final 4 finishes for this one were Lindsay Hobbs in 11th, Hayden Johnson in 12th, Kobe Marshall 13th, and Thomas Riley in 14th. Cruz Mason, your 15th starter, and your 1 retirement from this race, 10 laps short of the finish there.
Yep, and Troy Sipple, not present in the server, did not take the start. Well, warm-up is over just like that, and we can get into the preparations for race 2. It's another very short gridding time, and, well, the grid doesn't really need much explaining. It's the results from race 1 with a progressive grid, and crucially for the Jinx Shifters duo, they lock out the front row here for race 2. That's going to make things very difficult for everyone behind them, but they're going to have to make sure that their standing start is to a good standard.
Yes, well, we've seen one good start from the pair of the HJR cars in this one. It's the question of, Dion de Graaf have a little something extra that he can pull off for this second attempt at a race start here after what happened in that last one there. I think realistically we'll be hoping to try and improve on the start, because that cost him a couple of spots, and that bit of scrapping there was pretty valuable. And just in time for the timer to hit 0 on the grid, Hayden Johnson joins the field, so our 15 starters are lined up and ready. The revs rise once more for the final time here tonight at Imola in the V8s to get this support categories underway, and we're green, and the King gets the better start than Gilbert, and in fact this time it's going to put Gilbert under some pressure, but Dan Stevens there pressuring Haywood and de Graaf both as they head to Tamburello for the first time.
Late on the brakes there for Haywood to try and protect the position. Stevens gets very high up on the curb and is sent a little wide, so that promotes Dion de Graaf then up into 4th place. Stevens loses a further position to Childs on the way down to the Villeneuve chicane. And Simon Mazzomo will be rapidly trying to make up positions himself. A fresh car, fully repaired. And he's going to try and line up Toby Stent potentially into the Tosa hairpin, but not for the time being. Stent right on the back of Daniel Stevens here. Mazzomo, though, is starting to creep up, and Stent here is going for the move on Stevens. Well, having a look at least into Piratella. Nothing much happening there unless Stevens makes a mistake on the exit, which he does. There's not going to be much space there for Stent to try and make the move. But it is Jinx Shifters 1 and 2 up at the front of the field. Matt Haywood holding on to 3rd place. Dion de Graaf, though, we saw how quick he was at the end of the first race. Could be a threat for the podium sooner rather than later. Look at him go.
See who's willing to gamble on the apex curbs and then some more here on lap 1. The answer is a bit of a 50-50 split, it seems. Field there. Meanwhile, further on back, contact between Hayden Johnson, I believe it's Stephen Kennedy, at the top of the hill before Ravata. One sends both indeed. Lindsay Hobbs just pulls it up to try and get up the inside of them both. Kobe Marshall joins the party. Contact between Marshall and Johnson sends the 333 white machine around. Meanwhile,
on for the lead.
Indeed, Aaron Gilbert under brakes up the inside of Henry King. Gets that job done, but it will give Haywood and de Graaf a chance if they can set up a run potentially. As, oh dear, down at Tamburello, trouble between Kobe Marshall and Thomas Riley. The Triple Eight absolutely way too deep under brakes. Doesn't actually hit the Marshall in the 325, but it's all kinds of crisscross. Meanwhile, there you go. It's on again indeed between Stevens, Stent and Mazzomo as they come to Tosa. Mazzomo to the inside once more. Hopefully, second time is the charm for the 551 here, and he doesn't lock it up this time as Stent trying to get that place off the number 3 machine as they come around the corner here. And no, it's going to be side by side into Piratella here. Reese has Stent's got the outside run, nose to head now, inside back of Miralles is his. If he can make sure he just pulls it up a little early, it should be spot done indeed. Stevens slots in. We are single file once more. Took a bit of a setup, but nice execution there from the 189. Little wobble though on the exit of the Acro Minerale complex. Stevens to the outside for the brakes here at Variante Alta.
My goodness, this is some great racing. Stevens trying to force his way up the inside there, over the curb, but has to compromise the exit. What a fantastic battle. This is for 6th, remember. This is this is not a battle for the win, but they are racing like it for sure. Stevens going defensive there versus Mazzomo. A lock-up, meanwhile, for Toby Stent on the way into Ravazza 1. Through Ravazza 2, not much of a complaint from the car. And Darren Crosby right behind these guys is probably licking his lips. He's thinking, oh yes, this is going to be a fine meal indeed on the way into Tamburello. Stevens picking up the draft from Stent, and it's a massive amount of overspeed. He's going to go to the inside here on the way into Tamburello. And they're going to be level just about at the turn-in point. Stevens goes around the outside of turn 2, gets it done. Mazzomo's going to try and take advantage here. Stevens is compromised. They're all having trouble keeping their cars on the track here. Stent just keeping a hold of that Commodore. Into the Villeneuve chicane they come. And this battle is almost impossible to follow. There's just so much going on. Stent trying again on Stevens, and it's worked. It's sent him wide a little bit, but Stevens picks up the throttle nicely again on the outside.
Not quite there to be able to capitalise on that lock from Stevens through Tosa, but from what I was seeing there, Reese, it wasn't so much everyone was out of control. It was more the case of Stevens got a bit loose, Zoma gets a bit loose, but in the middle of them, Stent actually had quite a nice run, but had nowhere to go as a result of all being nose to tail on the exit of turn 4 at the end of the Tamburello section. And that's what, unfortunately, it made it look like he was a bit all loose, but he tried to keep his foot somewhat in it as Zomo, a little vulnerable, it seems, to Darren Crosby behind him here as they come through Variante Alta for the 3rd time in this race. Meanwhile, race control, pretty quick on the trigger there, and penalty for 325 of Kobe Marshall for that contact with Hayden Johnson in the 333 down at Rabat 2. Unfortunately, we'll send the Marshall well down the order and well out of contention as a result. But meanwhile, back towards the front of the field, look who's making inroads once again in this play. Although, in saying that, look who's not making inroads, I should say. Dion Graf, not really catching your top 3 at this stage. And
He might
Lance
have gotten a
Child,
slowdown.
maybe. I must have missed it looking, trying to watch his feeders. Oh, trouble for Crosby at Tamburello. The 66 around has lost the back of the 4 that he was fighting with, and he tumbles outside the top 10 to add to his woes.
Yeah, oh man, this is quite the difficult one to take a look at, because Crosby, I think, was a bit late on the brakes coming into turn 2. Mazomo was in danger of getting hit from behind, and I think Crosby just losing it under brakes, trying to brake as hard as he could. Look at this from on board. Mazomo gets on the brakes, and then oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh god, there might have been just an ever so slight tap there, but thank goodness it didn't result in a bigger incident than that. View from Mazomo, yeah, I think there was contact there.
Yeah, it did look like it. Mazomo trying to pull the car up and do his thing, and Crosby really trying to pull it up and try and hope maybe it'll hang on, but no can do, said the car, and well, that was the day almost done there for him, unfortunately. Comes back on track now, down on his own in 11. Space ahead and behind. But back to the front of the field here, Reese, because the top 3 are certainly getting ready to go at it for this one, with Matt Hayward not letting these Jing Shifters boys go this time. But in the past lap or so, Dion DeGraff has turned up the pressure quite nicely and been able to somewhat drop Lance Childs. So, mate, indeed, the slowdown, I think, is quite a likely thing. Is a slowdown indeed for the 551 of Simon Mazomo. And he's still trying to clear as meanwhile, again, it's on between Stevens and Stent as they come into Tamburello side by side once more.
Great racing there. They've given each other a good amount of room through the chicane. Stent has to fall back in behind again, but compromised exit for Stevens. Stent will go up the inside coming into Villeneuve, but Stevens is going to go a little bit deeper and try to keep the position here. And it's going to be a crisscross and maybe a crisscross again as Stent's on the outside here for Tosa. Will he hold the outside? Looks like he's going to have a go at it. He's going to try and line up the exit, but Mazomo now has been brought right back into it. Slow down? What slow down? He's right with it now. And have a look at this between DeGraff and Haywood. DeGraff getting through into 3rd place. Stevens goes deep, and Piratella, meanwhile, has to use all the AstroTurf. He's going to try and protect the inside here from Toby Stent. Oh, take it easy, boys. They give each other room again. It's been good, respectful racing, hard racing, but a lot of respect given between these drivers. Will Mazomo try to get his foot in the door somehow on the way up into Variante Alta? No. He's going to stay behind for the time being. Maybe try and move at Ravazza, maybe at turn 2 as well. He'll have the benefit of the slipstream. You don't want to get by too early on this track, because there is that very long front stretch.
DeGraff is charging, and as they fast Stector 1 to his name there at the start of this lap, just finishing up now. So watch for him to apply the blowtorch to Henry King, P2, and then try and jet off, because Aaron Gilbert has put a bit of a buffer between him and his compatriot there as they continue their 1-2. For now, meanwhile, Steven Stent and Mazomo this time decided not close enough to make a move, so single file it shall be, but all wobbly there from Stent on the exit. That opens the gap up ahead and puts Mazomo just that bit closer once more. Close enough on the way down into the Villeneuve chicane. They stay in single file. For now, the back and forth between this group has been pretty incredible. All going at it here after 5.5 laps of this one so far, and you think 5.5 laps, sure, that's not so bad, but with the way these cars drive, you can very easily wreck the tyres and do all kinds of unwanted things to them. So keeping their control of their wheels on their wagon at this point in time, to make sure that they are keeping on the black stuff here, because especially down into complexes like here at the Ackerman Raleigh complex, incredibly easy to go in too hot, but there's some good stuff from these guys in terms of making sure they don't fire it in too deep like we saw in the front six.
Well, that looks like a good entry from Stevens. Good entry from just about everybody there as they make their efforts to just get to the end. Stevens having a pretty good lap so far. He's been able to keep Stent well behind him, but Toby will be back on the attack into turn 2, I would gather, as it was a slight lock-up for Mazzomo. I think that set him back slightly. All right, let's see what they've got coming into Tamburello. Stevens will come across the line and set a 1 minute 44.8. It's a 44.7 for Toby Stent, though, and he's got the slipstream. He'll try to go up the inside again here. No, again, it's just a case of having a look, trying to unsettle your rival. It's not working on Daniel Stevens so far.
Yeah, trying all the tricks in the book, it would seem, and struggling a bit through Tamburello for the second time in as many laps. I think they're percent. And as a result, loses a bunch of time for Stevens, and he has to now go and claw back here whilst giving Mazzomo half a chance to think that maybe if he can just be that half a tenth closer again, that the move might be on at Tosa if he wants to try and fire it up the inside. But when the drive out of the hairpin there up through Piratella will certainly be advantage Stent. And we've got a callback time, Stevens down the hill here through the second half of the lap. So, it seems back and forth between this group is still one truly on. There's a big wobble from Stevens on the exit. Will close up that gap that I was just talking about there. Do basically nothing, and a slowdown meanwhile further up the road for Dion de Graaf.
Oh,
he was just
Stevens.
on the back. Indeed, wobble for Stevens here on the very untailed chicane. Inside door open for Stent. He will now get a chance to walk on down into Ravazza, but through the little kink to the right first. They go side by side under the brakes. Who pulls it up for the apex? Little lock from both, but space given. And Stevens will hang on around the outside. Stent prioritizing a run here, but
Mazzomo!
no. Little bit
Simon
of a contact.
Mazzomo, look at that! The door was just opened by a crack on the outside, and Mazzomo went, yep, all right, I'm sticking my nose in here. Thank you very much. Good awareness there from Toby Stent to give him room. Mazzomo now up into 7th there, finally getting it done.
The tiniest bit of netco contact between the two of them as well. But Stent just forced to the inside of Ravazza 1, made sure to give the space to Stevens, which was great driving in terms of respectfulness there from the 189 machine. But Mazzomo, as you said, taking full advantage. The opportunity is wide for Stevens. Does he go for it? No, it's covered off. Mazzomo will not be given the inside. You will not get that chance. You will have to go around, and Stevens just goes wide enough to walk the run a little bit here as we head up the hill to Piratella. Then right back in this again, just behind these two, as it's side by side a proper into Piratella between these two. No one giving an inch. Mazzomo's going to go with all the concrete and Astra he can get away with. Naki's in for the inside now for Ackerman and Riley. But Stevens turns in. Contact like we saw.
Oh, Stent! Look at Stent on the inside. Jesus Christ almighty! And he's through just about. Stevens losing 2 spots there to Kennedy and Hobbs with that slight excursion off the racetrack. But, oh, there we go. Toby Stent got it done on Mazzomo, and he's got a slowdown to boot. Oh no, he's redressing the position on Daniel Stevens. Yeah, I think Mazzomo recognizing that he was the one who sent Stevens off there. But what great awareness from Toby Stent to take advantage of all that. This is definitely worth another look.
Indeed, and well, I was just going to say we saw it between Stent and Stevens a couple of laps ago down into Ackerman. It can be, the side by side can be done, but we saw in the flat sixes too, Reese, that the outside man here into Ackerman Raleigh trying to turn it in like a bit normally. Mazzomo a little wide of the apex curb. Doesn't hurt, doesn't help the situation in general. But when Stent, as you said, just far enough back, just sees it unfolding in time to pull it up in time to give himself the space to hit the apex and take the place. And as a result, it's now Stent P6, Stephen Kennedy and Lindsay Hobbs up to 7th and 8th, and Stevens and Mazzomo just in behind the 2. So it's now a new 4-car battle pack that we keep our eyes on here, with lap 9 of 13 underway.
Man, this has been a great race. I've, I always get hyped for Imola whenever it comes around. It always puts on a good show, but man, this has been fantastic. And Stevens and Mazzomo with their little comings together and how hard they've been driving, I think they're starting to struggle on those tyres. Kennedy and Hobbs, meanwhile, they've had a few incidents of their own. They find themselves solidly in the top 10 now, thanks to this. These are the last 4 positions in the top 10, mind. Uh-oh, yeah. Uh-oh, indeed. Simon Mizomo going right off the racetrack there and taking the route of the original corner at Acqua Minerale.
That's a bit of lawn mowing on the right side of the circuit to Manitou, and then grabs the brakes there up into the chicane. Oh boy, he is absolutely wringing the neck off that car, and it's not particularly playing ball as we check back in with the front 3. A slowdown a while back for Dion de Graaf gave Matt Hayward half a chance, but once again, Hayward does not have the pace to go with this group here. So 4 to go now for your leading drivers as they've come across the line here to start the 10th lap of the race. And de Graaf is close, very, very close indeed. Question is, what can he do to get just that couple of tenths closer and set something up on these two? Because I think the last time he got close, he then made an error, and that just sort of sent him a long way back. And we saw it in the first race as well, let alone what we missed here in the second race. But exit off of Tosa is important, and that was not the good exit that Henry King needed. Thankfully, though, doesn't lose a huge amount of time, maybe a tenth, to de Graaf behind.
I'm amazed at Dion de Graaf's form here. I mean, he did seem pretty quick at Phillip Island, but he's just come in leaps and bounds here at Imola, hasn't he? Just a fantastic performance there from the driver of the number 20. And he's got a great view here of those top 2 cars who have locked down these top 2 positions for the whole night so far. De Graaf has been trying his best to get into a top 2 position here, qualified in 2nd place for race 1, ultimately finishing in 4th. The battle is still going on though. Stevens versus Kennedy. It looks like Hobbs has managed to somewhat break free of these guys, and Stevens will try and line up Kennedy here through Variante Alta, get the outside exit, and that will result in some nice momentum, and he'll be through by the time they exit the corner.
Slow down for your leader.
Oh no! Oh no, oh no, oh no. Aaron Gilbert back to 3rd. And that was a horrible place to get a slowdown. De Graaf now up into 2nd. He's in an HJR sandwich.
Well, that's the rare error that we haven't seen so far in this race for one of the HJR cars indeed. Let's have a look at where he's picked up and down into Rivata 1. And I think it might have just been there on the apex of the number 1. Because number 2 looks fine, and yeah, just a little too much apex curve. It's incredibly brutal, and so pulls over to the side here and is able to bleed it nicely, pull it up through the apex of the right, do it with the help there. But as a result, just has to roll out that fraction more and now has to play, or be the one to apply the pressure here on de Graaf. Henry King back to the race lead. I mean, Mizomo of all people will probably be a little bit happier about this because it means a little bit less salt in the wound given the championship situation for him, but, well, Mizomo's still back in P10 and would like to get to P7, but that's going to be apparently quite a bit of work as they come up through Variante Alta. Oh, time in this race, big snap for Gilbert. That will drop him back into a small little gap of his own. He's not going to be able to apply that much pressure to de Graaf here as they come down the hill. 2 to go on the line here, Reese, and de Graaf has been sizing these guys up all race long and is now in the prime position, especially if Gilbert's making mistakes like this and not being able to apply the pressure he needs to give Henry King a chance to drive with eyes forward rather than in the mirrors.
Yep, Aaron Gilbert not picking up the draft for a little bit there down the start-finish straight, but de Graaf now, as they now have 2 to go, is having a little look at Henry King, trying to psych out the V8 veteran. King taking a lot of curb there in the middle of Tamburello, but it doesn't seem to have hurt him all that much. If anything, de Graaf was a little bit offline coming through the corner. Haywood is trying his best to keep up with these guys behind, but you saw him making a slight error there. This could be another position back here for Aaron Gilbert if he can line it up the inside, but he's not going to go for it this time. Let's see what the exit's like from Tosa. Much straighter there for de Graaf. Nice and stable over the curb. This is allowing Henry King to get away somewhat. So Gilbert now has to negotiate this flowing but slightly twisty middle sector of the circuit. Not much room to rest here at Imola unless you're on the start-finish straight. And can he keep it stable here on the exit of Aqua Mineral? Looks like he can, but at the cost of losing a little more time to Dion de Graaf. Crucially, de Graaf's still within 6/10 of the race leader, which means if he can stay there, he should pick up a nice draft, and he's very confident over those curves, isn't he?
He is, but I think at this point here, given that Gilbert's half the gap that de Graaf's got to the lead, watch out for that number 1 machine. If it gets the run off of Rivartz's 1 and 2 here that Aaron will need, be the one putting the pressure on the 20. We come round Rivartz 2, and that's a nice exit. All things considered, slightly better initial drive though for de Graaf. That's what I was thinking, but now inside of 2/10 for Aaron Gilbert. Here we come across the line to start the final lap of this race, and look at the gap ahead. It's all going to be about the fight for second here. Races to the outside. Gilbert must go into Tamburello. Alongside under brakes will force the issue, and nose ahead, and job done through turns 2 and 3.
Brilliant move by Aaron Gilbert, but Dion de Graaf is not going to let him get away with this. He's going to try and push as hard as he can through Villeneuve. Maybe just take it easy on the way in, size up the exit, hope that Gilbert makes a mistake, which he does, but covers the inside. De Graaf almost sees the door open on the inside. It's covered by Gilbert though, coming through Tosa. Brilliant bit of battling between these two. It has let Henry King get away, and it's looking like Henry's going to take 2 from 2 tonight here in the V8s, but I won't speak too soon because it could all still go wrong for him with a slowdown in the wrong spot. What can de Graaf do to try and line him up again? The battle for 7th is still going on meanwhile. Daniel Stevens passing Lindsay Hobbs there, holding on to 7th. Oh, that was very much beyond the curb there for Dion de Graaf. I think he's pushed a bit too hard there. He had to lift off slightly, but he's managed to stay within the margin here for Aaron Gilbert. It's a much cleaner exit though for the number 1, the reigning V8s champion from last season. Just a couple of corners to go then. And Henry King leads by a second from his teammate. One last defense there from Aaron Gilbert to try and keep Dion de Graaf behind. Gave him one heck of a race. But Henry King, untroubled, up the front of the field. He ran second for a time, but he'll take 2 from 2 victories here at Imola in the V8s. And what a great finish there for second between Gilbert and de Graaf. Gilbert's going to hold on to the championship lead from this one for sure. Still on here though, Simon Mazzono, one more slowdown for him to end the night here. A very frustrating evening for the driver of the 551.
Yeah, big old slide through Rivartz 1. And, well, unfortunately for him, that'll be 10th place. And that will be a bit of a hammer blow to what he was hoping to keep in with his championship. And I would say, expect Henry King to now be ahead of him on points. But we'll have to wait for the next round of action to verify that for you. But here are the results at the line for the second race in the V8s at Imola. Henry King, half a second clear of Aaron Gilbert at the line, and Dion de Graaf showing the pace here in the second race, but not able to execute, and we'll have to settle for P3 at the checkered flag. Matt Haywood was there at the start, but faded early and not able to convert, so P4 will be where he ends up in that one, but then quite well clear of Lance Childs, who also looked to have some good early pressure, but ends up sort of floating into no man's land there in P5. Toby Stent pulls away in P6 ahead of Daniel Stevens and Lindsay Hobbs there, 7th and 8th for those two there to be, well, our 4 Commodores lined up in a row inside the top 10 here tonight. Reese, Stephen Kennedy just in behind those guys there for 9th, and Simon Mazzono, well, case of unfortunately slipping a little bit up and down the order tonight. Started in 10th for this one and will finish it also in 10th.
Coming home in 11th was Darren Crosby, who unfortunately nearly cleaned up Mazzono coming into turn 2 and put himself into the gravel trap for his troubles. Hayden Johnson could have been a much better race than that one. He started 12th and will have to settle for 12th after a couple of mistakes along the way. Thomas Riley, though, gaining 1 spot, trading it with Kobe Marshall, who got himself a penalty from race control. Cruz Mason did not take to the start, neither did Troy Sipple. And fortunately, race control in the safety car did not have to make an appearance for the entirety of the V8 racing here tonight. Only one appearance in race 1 of the flat sixes. Of course, the next round is going to be at the Bathurst 1000. Friday and Saturday on the 17th of September is going to be the running for the support categories. And then, of course, we have the main race at 11 a.m. on the 18th of September. That's Australian Eastern Time, we should highlight. So make sure to mark that down in your calendar because it's coming up very quickly. Let's have a talk then to our podium getters here from the V8s. First off, Henry King. It's a double victory for you tonight, Henry. Pretty much a perfect round.
Yeah, I'm quite happy with a clean sweep. I've been trying to do one for 2 years now and finally got one.
Indeed. Certainly very welcome after all this time. Pole position for you in qualifying as well. Looked like you and Aaron almost had it worked out, but Dion de Graaf throwing a bit of a spanner in the works there.
Yeah, the Simblacks boys took it to us tonight. It was good. The first race we kind of run away with it after we got settled into a groove, but race 2 was a different story.
Yeah, it was indeed. What exactly happened between you two? Was that a straight-up intentional swap, or was there a mistake involved to get Aaron ahead briefly?
No, Aaron got a good run out of the last corner, and I just let him have it into one. There's no point in fighting it. We can work together and pull away from the field. And then, unfortunately for him, he got a slowdown, which gave it back to me.
Well, regardless, despite that and the big pressure that de Graaf was putting on you guys at the end, you still come home with a 1-2 in both races tonight, and that's going to help secure the championship lead again for Gilbert and definitely work out well for you in the standings as well.
Oh, indeed it does. I'd like to get a few more points on Aaron so I can race into the finish of the series again. I'm closer now than I was last year, so hopefully it's a good run at the end.
Yeah, there's still plenty of racing to go in the V8s this season, a very late season heavy championship here. Before we let you go, Henry, anyone you'd like to thank from your garage?
I have got to thank both Brett and Aaron for the setup work this week to give us that little bit of an edge over the competition. Huge thanks to Jinx Shifters for being on board as well. We really proudly run the Jinx Shifters colours, so it's great to have him on board for another season.
Well, Henry King, race admin here at Oceanic Sim Racing, and a brilliant double victory there tonight. Second on the road in both races was his teammate and championship leader Aaron Gilbert, and Dan's going to have a chat to him about that.
Indeed, well, not quite the top step tonight, Aaron, but certainly there all race long in both races and qualifying. Well, barely a tenth or two in it between you guys at the top of the field. And, certainly putting on a good show for us tonight and having to work for the results. Unfortunately, just not quite perhaps the what you might have hoped for.
Yeah, I got a slowdown with 3 or 4 to go there on that last race, so I think I would have been able to hold Henry off, but it is what it is.
I mean, certainly you guys both had a pretty similar pace, and you guys look pretty comfortable up the front, despite the fact in particular their race 2, Dion really trying to put the pressure on and close down on the pair of you there. But yeah, apart from that small mistake, you guys look, you had a nice rhythm and pretty cool and calm up front there.
Yeah, we definitely, I felt like we had control of the first race and probably had control of the second one, but just small errors from myself, just holding us up a bit. But I'll take a double podium for the night and continue on my championship charge, basically.
Indeed, yeah. With Simon Mazzomo having a bit of a shocker tonight, double 10th place finishes for him. That certainly blows open the margin a bit for you, gives you a bit of that padding that you might be looking for at this point. Although we are only at about the halfway stage of the season for the V8s here, so quite a few races to go, and well, the Bathurst 250 mini enduro for these cars up next round, and well, that'll be a good test of endurance solo driver event. Any thoughts on that combination when we get to that one in about 2 weeks' time?
Well, we had a strong car there last year, so hopefully we can bring the A game there as well. Hopefully we'll try and get a 1-2 again, which would be the goal. Hopefully this time I'll be in front of Henry, but we'll see. But yeah, hopefully we roll in there pretty good.
Well, I should say 3 weeks. My apologies. That's got a bit more time to prepare for that one from now. But, well, in that case, a good night all the same for you. Who do you want to thank for your results?
Well, I'll thank Jinx Shifters, our main sponsor for the year. Probably Henry, working with us, with me on the setup all week, getting the car as good as we got it, and you guys for putting a good broadcast on and showing how good we are actually on the screen. So, yeah. Good.
Aaron Gilbert, second place in both of the races here at Imola tonight, Reece, and that leaves us with one final driver to chat to from the second race tonight, our man in P3, Dion DeGraff, standing by to talk with you.
Indeed. Well, congratulations, Dion. A very good, very solid night for you. Let's start with your qualifying. You were looking quick in practice, topping the times, but you have to be happy with second in qualifying. What kind of preparation were you putting into this round for that?
I'm not gonna lie, I made my set probably about 2 hours before the race. I hadn't got my gear together, so I quickly whipped up a set with my teammate, and yeah, we just run it. Quali set was amazing, and the race set, the tyres just fell off at the end.
Yeah, it did seem like you were having a little bit of trouble keeping it on the track and within the limits in race one with a couple of slowdowns to your name. How was that experience from your point of view? It's a very difficult track here.
Those slowdowns definitely ruin your race.
I know from experience.
Other than that, the track's amazing. Just my bad. Just being greedy and taking too much curb.
Oh, well, either way, recovering for a podium in race 2, and you were briefly in second as well, really taking the fight to the HJR boys.
Yeah, I ran out of... I was kind of silly, and I used all my off tracks at the second chicane. I kept getting off tracks here, so I only had 18 on the last lap. So when he made the move, I was just like, no, he can have it, because I'd rather finish third than not finish at all.
Yeah, indeed. I think that's reasonable, all things considered, Dion. Well, regardless, a good haul of points for you tonight and some fantastic results. Who do you have to thank?
I'd like to thank all my sponsors, Simblacks, which is Stefan Adams here in New Zealand, Butte Line and Rankin Plumbing. Also like to thank Maddie and Toby Stint in our Discord, and all the Simblacks boys.
Dion DeGraff there joining us for this final driver interview of the night here in the Logitech G V8SCOPS Support Series from Imola. I've got to say, Dan, I am hyped for Bathurst, but I think a really good night of racing all up here from Imola.
Yeah, that is true indeed, and that's only half of the tale for the Support Series race. Still got another night's worth of racing, although it won't be so much fast and furious sprint racing that we get to observe. Well, I say we observe. It's actually more Jay and I will get to observe. You actually will be behind the wheel, of course. With
I
the
will
little
not,
tours.
unfortunately. Had a real life commitment pop up, which means that although I would have liked to have been racing in the 2-litre tours tomorrow night, I will not be. So I wish all the best to all the drivers who are going out there tomorrow.
Well, there we are. So we'll be missing you from the comment box all the same then. But yeah, be back for us tomorrow night for 250 kilometres of 2-litre Tura TCR racing here from Imola. And then we get to Sunday afternoon and we bring the 500 kilometres of racing for V8SCOPS proper. It's a busy weekend here at SimSpeed TV, and it's only just begun. Big thanks to everyone for joining us here tonight. My name is Daniel Yeaman, Reece Gardner here alongside me in the commentary box, and Jay Kennedy on production for V8SCOPS this weekend. Hope you enjoyed it from start to finish, and bye for now, but not forever.